What if the material that could save the world was hiding in plain sight, lighter than aluminum, stronger than steel, and grown from something as old as time itself? Elena Morgan never expected a simple package to upend her life. It arrived on a foggy San Francisco morning, tucked in a plain cardboard box without a return label. Inside was a single slab of what looked like polished wood, lightweight, grainy, unassuming, and a crisp sheet of paper with just 4 words typed in bold: Superwood. Change everything. Now. Elena turned the slab in her hands, noting how its edges caught the light with an oddly metallic shimmer. Her fingers instinctively tapped it against the granite counter. It didn't sound like wood. It was denser. Cleaner. Intentional. And yet, warm. Organic. She had spent the last 5 years of her life hunting down sustainable materials that could truly revolutionize green architecture. Nothing she'd seen came close to this. And now, as the lead architect for a multi-million-dollar eco-housing project in the heart of Oakland, her reputation and career balanced precariously on the line between innovation and feasibility. She stared at the slab again, heart pounding. What the hell was this? Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? She blinked at the question scribbled in pen on the back of the paper. Someone had actually written it by hand. Not printed. That wasn't corporate. That wasn't some generic PR package. This was personal. She checked the label again, heart skipping a beat. No return address. No sender. No tracking number. It was like the thing had just appeared. Her phone buzzed. A text from Devin, the structural engineer on her team. Hey, we've got major issues with the cross-laminated timbers. Too heavy for the cantilever. Might need to rethink the south wing. Elena closed her eyes. They were just 2 months out from groundbreaking. Changing material specs now would ripple through permits, inspections, timelines, and investor meetings. But what if this Superwood could solve it? She searched online, but the results were sparse. A few scientific papers out of Maryland about nanocellulose densification, and a handful of startup articles pointing to a company called InventWood. And then, oddly, a tweet, just posted an hour ago. Superwood, the future of sustainable architecture. It's coming. Faster than you think. Elon Musk. Her stomach flipped. Coincidence? Or was this the tip of something huge? She paced her kitchen, adrenaline rising. It wasn't the first time she'd had to take a risk. After her mom died, she deferred her architecture degree for 2 years to care for her younger brother. When she finally made it back, she worked 3 jobs just to keep afloat. She knew what it meant to make hard choices. Calculated leaps. But this was something else. Something seismic. She picked up the slab again. No visible seams. No warping. She set it on the floor and stepped onto it. Nothing. No creak. Not even a flex. And she weighed 140 pounds in boots. That was impossible for wood of this size. She had to show someone. She grabbed her keys, tossed the Superwood into her leather portfolio case, and headed out. Her mind raced as she crossed the Bay Bridge, thoughts flipping between engineering specs, tensile strength tables, and Elon Musk's cryptic tweet. By the time she pulled into the firm's parking lot, she'd already drafted 3 possible design alterations in her head that could integrate this material. Devin was in the lab, hunched over schematics and sipping what had to be his 3rd energy drink. He raised an eyebrow when she laid the slab on the table. New flooring sample, he asked, uninterested. She shook her head. Superwood. He blinked. Come again. She told him everything, the package, the note, the tweet. He tapped the slab experimentally. Feels weird. Dense. He grabbed a scanner and ran a quick density analysis. Jesus! This is denser than steel, but it's cellulose-based. That's not possible. But it is, Elena said quietly. He looked up, eyes wide. You thinking what I'm thinking? South wing cantilever. New frame design. Lightweight span reinforcement. He nodded slowly. We'd need to test it. Compression. Fire resistance. Modulus of rupture. I'll pull the specs, Elena said, already typing. But there weren't any. No ASTM classifications. No safety ratings. It was like the material didn't officially exist. Devon whistled low. This might be black box R&D stuff. Not even cleared for public use yet. Then why send it to me? Elena said. Devon shrugged. Someone wants you to try it. The next few hours blurred into a frenzy of makeshift testing. They drilled into it, no splintering. Burned it, barely singed. Ran pressure tests, better than engineered steel laminates. Every result pointed to one truth: this wasn't wood. It was something else. Something more. Elena called Professor Harris, her old mentor. Superwood, he said over the phone. That's a real thing now. I have a sample. I'm holding it. Silence. Then, don't let it out of your sight. Not yet. There are interests involved. What kind of interests? Big ones. He hung up. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She kept the superwood on her nightstand, as if it might vanish while she wasn't looking. She dreamt of buildings rising like redwoods, elegant and towering, resilient and alive. She imagined a world where forests weren't cut down but grown smarter. Where cities didn't sprawl, they evolved. Where construction wasn't a carbon sink, but a carbon solution. But the dream twisted. Her brother, Jake, was falling from a beam, a forest of splintered wood below, and she couldn't catch him in time. She jolted awake, heart pounding. The slab was still there. Solid. Smooth. Waiting. By sunrise, she had made her decision. She would redesign the south wing using superwood. Quietly. Carefully. Off the record. If it worked, she would present it as a proof of concept. If it didn't, no harm done. But if it did. Elena drove to the office early, sketchbook in hand, determination set in her jaw. The world didn't change by playing it safe. It changed when someone took a risk. And maybe, just maybe, this was her moment. Across the world, in a satellite lab outside Berlin, a red notification pinged on a private terminal. A scientist in a lab coat leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the alert. Superwood sample activated, San Francisco. He picked up the phone. We have a live test. The architect has taken the bait. Thousands of miles away, in a Tesla Roadster cruising down Highway 1, Elon Musk smiled to himself and whispered, "Let's see what she does next." Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elena Morgan hadn't always been the woman willing to bet her career on an untraceable sample of wood that wasn't wood. There was a time not long ago when risk terrified her, when playing it safe felt like survival, not failure. Her childhood had been anything but secure, raised in the Sacramento Valley by a single father who rebuilt old homes for a living and drank his way through most of the pain left behind by her mother's disappearance. The house always smelled like sawdust and cigarette smoke, and the sound of hammering filled the halls more often than laughter. But Elena loved that smell, associating it not with chaos, but with creation. Her dad, Ray Morgan, had rough hands and soft eyes. He never talked much about emotions, but he showed his love through buildings. Every Saturday, he took her to job sites, handed her a tiny hard hat, and explained the bones of structures as if they were stories. "This one used to be a bakery," he'd say, pointing to the frame of a boarded-up building. "See those beams? They're redwood. Stronger than you'd think. Old growth. Back before people knew better." He talked about wood the way poets talked about love, with reverence, care, and a certain kind of longing. That reverence shaped Elena more than she realized. She grew up sketching houses in her school notebooks, not dolls or dresses. At 12, she designed a solar-powered treehouse for her science fair project. At 15, she rebuilt their collapsing porch herself after her dad threw out his back. By 18, she'd earned a scholarship to the California College of the Arts in San Francisco and vowed to leave her small-town past behind. But pasts have a way of clinging. Her sophomore year, just as she was rising to the top of her class, she got the call. Her father had died suddenly, a stroke. She was left alone, the house left to her name, and her 15-year-old brother, Jake, terrified and angry, looking to her for answers. She dropped out without a second thought. For 2 years, she worked days at an architectural supply store and nights waiting tables just to keep food on the table and the lights on. Jake hated her for a while, blaming her for uprooting them to the city, for not being their dad, for not fixing things fast enough. But slowly, he softened. And eventually, Elena returned to school, picking up the pieces of her dream where she left off, more focused and more grounded. She didn't have the luxury of dreaming anymore, only building. That's when she met Professor Harris. Silver-haired, blazer-wearing, with a voice like gravel and a brain like a blueprint. He spotted her sketches during her first week back and invited her to present in his advanced studio class. "You think like a builder," he'd said, handing back her assignment. "Not just an artist. That's rare." Under his mentorship, she thrived. He introduced her to structural innovators, material scientists, and thought leaders. Through him, she learned the deeper value of sustainable design, not just saving trees, but reshaping cities, lives, futures. He'd often say, "Architecture is memory you can walk through. So build with something worth remembering." That quote lived at the top of her whiteboard, above every deadline and diagram. After graduation, she'd landed a junior position at Halcyon Design Group, and within 3 years, rose to become one of their youngest lead architects. The Oakland project was her big break, an eco-housing complex designed for low-income families, funded by both city grants and a series of socially conscious investors looking to make a green statement. Everything had to be tight: budgets, deadlines, emissions, and carbon footprint. She had chosen cross-laminated timber for the structural cores because it struck the right balance between eco-friendly and scalable. But as costs ballooned and engineering challenges mounted, that decision began to unravel. And now, impossibly, like a ghost from the future, Superwood had appeared on her doorstep. Something that shouldn't exist, but did. Something that reminded her of how her dad used to talk about redwoods, but stronger. Wiser. Clean. That morning, after confirming their internal tests, she took a calculated step. She booked a private lab session at BioStruct, a startup materials lab she'd worked with once on a university project. The technician, a soft-spoken woman named Mia, ran 5 hours of tests and said only one thing when it was over: "You're not supposed to have this." "Why not?" Elena asked. "Because it's not publicly registered. No patent filings. No import logs. No commercial release notes. Nothing. It's like it just materialized. It came with a note. That's it." Mia raised an eyebrow. "You sure you want to be involved with something this untraceable?" "No," Elena admitted. "But I don't think I can walk away either." Later that afternoon, she drove to Marin County to visit someone she hadn't seen in nearly a year, Jake. Now 22 and in his final year of college, he was studying environmental science, an irony that often made her smile. He lived in a small shared house with 3 roommates and a cat named Tesla who hated everyone. Jake opened the door, eyebrows raised. Wow. You remembered I exist. Nice to see you too. She showed him the slab. He held it cautiously, like it might explode. What is it? Superwood. He snorted. That's not a thing. It is now. She explained everything, the package, the tests, the secrecy. Jake listened, eyes growing wide. You're really gonna use this in the project? If I can figure out how. He set the slab down, suddenly serious. You ever think maybe it's not just a gift? Maybe it's a test. From who? Elon Musk? God? The ghost of Redwood's past? I don't know. But people don't just hand out miracle materials. So what do I do? Throw it away? No. You use it. But carefully. Like a match near gasoline. Like a revolution waiting to happen. That night, Elena stayed up drafting. Every line she drew felt electric. The new cantilever design used 30% less material, held stronger under load, and weighed half as much. It wasn't just innovative, it was poetic. A structure singing with possibility. She knew she'd have to present it quietly. Only Devin would know at first. Then maybe Harris. Maybe Jake. If the initial frames held under stress, they could make a case to the board. Then the city. Then the world. But first, silence. She renamed the material in her files, Composite X7. Generic. Invisible. Just another experimental phase. She emailed the update to Devin with a note, don't tell anyone. Yet. That weekend, as she walked through the future site, a gravel field waiting to become something greater, she held the slab of superwood to her chest and whispered a promise, to her father, to Jake, to herself. We build the world we want to live in. One risk at a time. Far above, in a SpaceX satellite orbiting quietly, a data pulse confirmed activation. Sequence complete. Observation underway. And miles away, in a secret think tank conference room near Palo Alto, Elon Musk reviewed a secure report titled Superwood Field Trial Number 004, Architect Morgan, Preliminary Response Positive. He leaned back, steepled his fingers, and grinned. Finally, he said to no one. Someone with vision. Tension crackled through the halcyon design group like a live wire the moment Elena introduced Composite X7 into her latest renderings. She didn't mention Superwood by name, nor did she allude to its origin. Instead, she presented it as a theoretical composite material, a new engineered wood product she claimed had superior strength-to-weight ratio and environmental performance. Devin backed her up with mock test results that mirrored their private findings, and for a few minutes in the dimly lit conference room, it seemed like they might actually pull it off. But then came the questions. Simon Kroll, the lead investor's liaison, narrowed his eyes at the plans on the projector screen. Where did this Composite X7 come from again? Elena kept her tone measured. It's a modified lignocellulose product developed in partnership with a third-party lab. Still under NDA, but early metrics are highly promising. Same carbon sink qualities as mass timber, but with 10 times the tensile strength and half the density. And is it approved? Simon asked, fingers tapping a legal pad like a ticking bomb. Yet? Elena hesitated. It's undergoing testing. This design is speculative at this stage. A feasibility proposal. We don't build on speculation, Elena, Simon snapped. We're weeks from permits. I can't take this to the city with a mystery wood cooked up in someone's garage. It wasn't made in a garage, Devin interjected, but Elena waved him down. Simon, I understand the concern. But if this material holds, and it will, we're talking about lowering both cost and emissions significantly. It could make this project the benchmark for sustainable housing nationwide. Maybe globally. And if it doesn't hold? Then we revert. The design remains structurally compatible with CLT. The steel reinforcements are modular. No delays. Simon sighed. This is already a gamble. You know the grant stipulations. No unapproved materials. It's an alternate concept. That's all. A backup. No risk unless we greenlight the change. You're walking a fine line, Elena. I know, she said softly. But it's a line worth walking. When the meeting ended, she retreated to the rooftop terrace, heart hammering. Devon joined her 10 minutes later, carrying 2 coffees and a grimace. He's going to push for a board review, he said. Of course he is. You really think this'll work? I have to. She looked out over the skyline, the wind catching her hair. You felt it, Dev. That material, it's not just different. It's better. Cleaner. Lighter. Stronger. And we've only scratched the surface. You're betting your whole career on this. I'm betting on what I know is right. He handed her a coffee and nodded. Then I'm in. Let's break something. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena and Devon worked around the clock to simulate load scenarios, environmental stress factors, seismic compliance, and long-term sustainability projections. Composite X7, Superwood, outperformed every benchmark. It withstood pressure levels that would crumble ordinary timber. It resisted heat, cold, humidity, pests. It held shape through simulated quakes and absorbed shockwaves like engineered foam. And through it all, it remained light, warm, breathable. A paradox of nature and science. Meanwhile, Professor Harris arranged for an unofficial test facility through one of his old government contacts. The slab was shipped under an alias, packed in layers of unmarked wrap, and couriered with no digital trail. You're not the only one watching this, Harris told her over lunch one afternoon. There are whispers. About defense contracts. Aerospace applications. Even lunar habitats. What does that mean for us? She asked. It means you're playing in the deep end now. That night, Elena received a strange email. No sender. No subject. Just a single sentence, you're doing well. Don't stop. Attached was a schematic. A blueprint for a joint structure, one that matched her updated design to an uncanny degree, as if someone had reverse-engineered her sketches before she'd even made them. The file was dated 2 months earlier. She stared at the screen, unsettled. How long had she been part of something bigger? The next morning, the first real setback struck. The Superwood sample cracked. A tiny hairline fracture during an intense flexural test. Mia called immediately. We may have a weakness in the polymer bonding. Something temperature dependent. I need the rest of the sample. Elena rushed to BioStruct with the remaining material. Mia ran more tests, confirming a single vulnerability point, extreme humidity cycling. It doesn't fail completely, she explained. But over time, the internal matrix may degrade. It needs to be sealed or hybridized. Elena groaned. We don't have time for a coating redesign. Then use it where it matters. Structural cores. Encapsulated environments. Avoid external exposure. We'll need 2 systems. Exactly. A hybrid frame. Like an exoskeleton with a superwood heart. That night, Elena rewrote the entire south wing again, combining external steel beams with a superwood inner core. Devon approved the change. It was stealthier, safer, and still cut emissions by nearly 40%. When they presented the final model to the investor board, Elena stood tall. She spoke clearly. Confidently. She outlined the science, the results, the options. She answered every question with precision. When they asked about long-term durability, she cited Mia's tests. When they asked about material sourcing, she referenced a pending partnership with a government-affiliated research lab. It was all technically true. Mostly. And if we say no? One board member asked. Elena looked at him, fire in her voice. Then you build the same way everyone else does. Safe. Predictable. Forgettable. Or, she tapped the model. You build something that changes everything. There was a silence. Then a voice at the end of the table. Deep. Calm. Surprising. I vote yes. The room turned. Elon Musk sat in the corner, having arrived unannounced 5 minutes earlier. Simon's jaw dropped. Elena froze. Mr. Musk? Elon stood, smiling. I've been following your work, Elena. You're exactly the kind of mind we need steering material science into the future. You sent it, she whispered. Didn't you? He didn't answer. Just nodded once. Then he left the room. Later, when Elena returned to her desk, her inbox was flooded. News had leaked. Tesla invests in green architecture firm pioneering Superwood tech. New Elon Musk-backed material stuns building industry. Oakland project could become world's first zero-emissions housing using bioengineered wood. She leaned back in her chair, overwhelmed. Devin walked in, grinning. You're trending. She laughed, dazed. I didn't want this. I just wanted to build something better. You did. And now everyone knows it. Her phone buzzed again. Jake. She answered. Hey, he said. Saw the news. You okay? I think so. You sound freaked out. I am. A little. Want me to come over? No. I'm good. Pause. I'm proud of you, Elena. Her throat tightened. Thanks, kid. That night, alone in her apartment, she placed the cracked piece of superwood back on her shelf, next to her father's old measuring tape. Then she whispered into the dark, not knowing who might be listening, okay. I'm in. Let's see how deep this goes. The morning air in Oakland smelled like rain and renewal, a quiet promise hanging over the construction site that was about to become the city's first Superwood housing complex. Elena stood on the edge of the excavation pit, staring at the freshly poured foundation. Her boots sank slightly into the damp earth, the sounds of heavy machinery humming in the background. It was the first day of what she privately called the climactic journey, the moment where theory met reality, where Superwood would either prove its worth or betray her entire vision. She pulled her jacket tighter and glanced at the slab of superwood she'd carried in her backpack, tucked safely in a weatherproof case. Her phone buzzed, a message from Devin. Team is ready. This is it. Her chest tightened. After months of planning, secret testing, and clandestine meetings, the moment had arrived to begin integrating Superwood into the framework. But beneath her calm exterior, a storm of nerves churned. She thought of her father's rough hands and patient voice, the way he'd taught her to trust the grain of wood, the pulse within every plank. She whispered to herself, build with something worth remembering. The site was a chaotic orchestra, workers, cranes, and engineers moving in synchronized purpose. Elena walked through the blueprints on her tablet one last time, checking every beam and joint in the Superwood frame. Devin met her by the modular storage containers. The materials just arrived, he said, lifting a sealed crate. Superwood slabs, sealed and ready. Elena nodded, forcing herself to breathe. We start with the south wing beams. Load test scheduled for next week. As the day progressed, the first Superwood beams were hoisted into place. The material gleamed faintly under the overcast sky, its smooth surface unlike any natural wood, almost synthetic but with warmth and depth. Engineers monitored every movement, scanning the structural integrity with portable sensors. The initial results were encouraging, strain levels remained well below safety thresholds, and deflection was minimal. Yet, with every successful placement, Elena's unease grew. She noticed subtle differences in how the Superwood reacted to environmental factors. In the humid air, some slabs showed faint swelling, though still within tolerance. She pulled Devon aside. "We need to monitor moisture levels closely. If the material isn't properly sealed in every joint, we risk degradation." "We're on it," Devon replied, fingers flying over his tablet. "I'm also coordinating with the BioStruct lab for rapid moisture testing." Meanwhile, at a nearby coffee shop, Jake sat with two classmates discussing the latest news about Superwood. He was torn, proud of his sister, yet worried about the risks she was taking. His environmental studies professor had warned about untested bioengineered materials, citing cases where initial optimism gave way to catastrophic failures. "It's revolutionary, but unproven," Jake said, stirring his latte. "If it fails, it could set back the entire green building movement." One of his friends shrugged. "Or it could be the breakthrough we desperately need." Back at the site, Elena's team discovered a more pressing issue. One of the Superwood slabs used near an exterior joint began to show microfractures under a stress sensor during an accelerated weathering simulation. Mia called Elena immediately. "We need a containment protocol," she said urgently. "Seal the exposed edges with an advanced polymer coating ASAP." Elena felt her heart sink. Every delay meant more scrutiny from investors and regulators. "Can we apply it on site?" "Only if you can isolate the slab fully. Otherwise it compromises the bonding." The next day, the weather turned from overcast to stormy, the first real challenge to the delicate structure. Rain pelted the site, flooding trenches and soaking exposed wood. Elena stayed late, watching the Superwood beams glisten with water droplets. Her phone buzzed, another message from an unknown sender: "Trust the process. Storms bring growth." She typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. The storm raged through the night, and the site's drainage system was pushed to the limit. Next morning, the team found a slab with increased moisture absorption beyond predicted levels. The polymer sealant had partially failed. Elena convened an emergency meeting. "We have a vulnerability," she said plainly. "This material isn't indestructible. We must revise our sealing method, rethink exposure, and reinforce the framework." Some investors grew restless, demanding reassurances. Elena held her ground. "Innovation is risk. But the potential payoff is a new era of sustainable construction. We're close." Weeks turned into months as the structure grew, Superwood beams weaving through the building's skeleton like the veins of a living organism. Elena spent long nights revising designs, negotiating with regulators, and rallying her team. The city council scheduled a public forum to address community concerns. The room was packed. Residents voiced fears about untested materials, construction noise, and potential environmental hazards. Elena stood before them, vulnerable but resolute. "Superwood isn't just a material. It's a commitment to a greener, safer future. We are transparent, listening, and adapting. This project is as much yours as it is ours." A local mother raised her hand. "What if it fails? What then?" Elena's eyes softened. "Then we learn. We improve. We keep trying. Because standing still is not an option." The forum ended with cautious applause. Word spread beyond Oakland. Media outlets covered the project with a mix of awe and skepticism. Elena's story became a symbol of hope and controversy intertwined. At night, she confided in Jake. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm pushing too hard." Jake smiled. "That's what makes you who you are. We need people like you. Just remember to take care of yourself." The emotional weight was heavy. Her relationship with Devon deepened, a partnership forged in late nights and shared dreams. But stress also fractured friendships. Some colleagues accused her of recklessness, others admired her courage. Then came the day of the first major stress test. Engineers loaded a section of the Superwood frame with weight simulators replicating years of wear and seismic forces. Sensors beeped rapidly. Everyone held their breath. The results were stunning. The frame held beyond expectations, flexing but not breaking, absorbing energy like a living thing. Elena exhaled slowly, tears pricking her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. News of the successful test electrified the industry. Orders came flooding in for Superwood products. Elon Musk sent a personal message: "Keep pushing. The world is watching." Yet, beneath the triumph, Elena felt the journey was only beginning. For every victory, a new challenge lurked. But she was ready. Standing on the rooftop overlooking her city, holding a piece of Superwood, she smiled. This was more than building, it was rewriting the future. The news spread fast. Superwood's first major success had caught the attention of not just architects and engineers, but policymakers and industry giants. Elena felt the weight of expectations crushing yet exhilarating, a pressure cooker fueled by hope and scrutiny. As the Oakland project neared completion, her team was already fielding inquiries about applications beyond housing, bridges, aircraft interiors, even Mars habitats. She sat in her small office surrounded by samples, test reports, and design models, her mind racing. The stakes had never been higher. One evening, a call came from Elon Musk himself. "Elena, your work is transforming everything. But innovation means embracing failure too. Are you ready for what comes next?" His voice was steady, almost fatherly. She replied, "I have to be." "Good. Because we're about to start something that could redefine not just materials, but humanity's future." The following weeks brought a flurry of activity. Biostruct scientists, led by Mia, engineered a new polymer coating that bonded seamlessly with Superwood, shielding it from moisture and UV exposure while preserving breathability. This breakthrough addressed the critical vulnerability that had plagued earlier tests, and suddenly the material's potential seemed limitless. Elena traveled to a secretive government research facility, where she met with a team developing advanced composites for aerospace applications. They shared confidential data hinting at Superwood's use in lightweight spacecraft panels designed for the harsh conditions of space travel. The thought was staggering: her creation, born of Earth's forests and human ingenuity, destined to venture beyond the atmosphere. Meanwhile, back in Oakland, construction crews worked tirelessly, weaving Superwood into the complex's structural core. Community members, once skeptical, began attending open house events, their questions turning from doubt to fascination. "It's like the building breathes," one elderly resident said, running her hand along a smooth beam. "Feels alive." But not everyone welcomed the change. Established timber suppliers saw Superwood as a threat, and lobbying efforts to regulate or restrict its use intensified. Elena found herself in a battle on multiple fronts: scientific, political, financial. During a critical board meeting, Simon Kroll presented a sharply worded opposition, warning of unforeseen liabilities and market destabilization. Elena stood her ground. Progress always disrupts. If we retreat now, we lose more than market share, we lose the future. Elon's sudden appearance diffused tension once more. Elena's right. This is the future. We support it fully. Public opinion swayed as media stories highlighted Superwood's environmental benefits: carbon sequestration far beyond traditional timber, reduced manufacturing emissions, and a recyclable life cycle. Elon Musk's involvement added a layer of credibility few could challenge. One night, Elena sat with Devon on the rooftop, city lights twinkling below. "Do you think we're ready for the next phase?" she asked. "I think we have no choice." They had begun developing modular housing units built entirely from Superwood composites, aiming to address the nation's affordable housing crisis. But just as optimism peaked, disaster struck. A fire broke out in a nearby construction zone. Rumors spread that the blaze had started in a competitor's Superwood test structure. Social media exploded with accusations and panic. Elena received calls from frantic investors, regulators, and journalists. "We need a full investigation, now," she told her team. Tests confirmed the material's flame-retardant properties remained intact, but the controversy had taken root. Opponents used the incident to fuel fear and doubt, demanding moratoriums and recalls. Elena's resolve was tested like never before. She doubled down on transparency, opening labs to independent experts and inviting community watchdogs to witness tests. She traveled across states to speak at conferences, passionately explaining Superwood's science and safeguards. Her message was simple but powerful: innovation is never without risk, but standing still costs us the planet. We owe it to future generations to try. Slowly, confidence returned. Funding increased. Partnerships formed. Orders for Superwood soared. Elon Musk unveiled plans to incorporate Superwood into SpaceX's next-generation spacecraft interiors, citing its strength-to-weight advantage and sustainability. The Oakland project completed on schedule, hailed as a model of modern, green construction. Elena stood before a crowd at the grand opening, her voice steady despite the years of struggle behind her. Superwood is more than a material. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when science, courage, and care come together. She glanced at Devon, who smiled back with quiet pride. And this is only the beginning. Yet, beneath the success lay a deeper transformation. Elena's journey had changed her, from an idealistic engineer to a leader grappling with the complexities of progress, ethics, and human impact. She realized the future was uncertain, full of shadows and light intertwined. One evening, as she prepared for bed, a message popped up on her phone. From an unknown number: "The real test starts now. Be ready." She stared at the screen, heart pounding. What new challenges awaited? Could she protect Superwood's promise against forces unseen? The adventure had only just begun. Elena's phone buzzed relentlessly in the early morning hours as the latest reports from the government labs arrived. The Superwood samples tested under simulated space conditions had surpassed all expectations: microgravity exposure, radiation resistance, and temperature extremes had barely phased the material. This was the breakthrough she'd dreamed of, the validation that her vision extended beyond Earth itself. Yet the elation was tempered by a creeping unease. Funding fluctuations and increasing regulatory scrutiny threatened to stall their momentum. The political climate was shifting. Public debates around synthetic biology and engineered materials grew heated, fueled by misinformation and fear. Despite Elon Musk's high-profile endorsement, opposition factions mounted campaigns to restrict Superwood's use, citing untested long-term impacts and unnatural processes. Elena knew the narrative could easily turn against them. She began drafting a public transparency initiative, open labs, live-streamed testing, community education programs, to build trust and fight back against the rising tide of skepticism. Meanwhile, the Oakland housing complex neared completion, a striking monument to the promise of Superwood. Elena often walked the site alone, running her hands over the warm, smooth surfaces of beams and panels, feeling the pulse of her creation. But that connection was shadowed by a growing sense of responsibility. She had to ensure that this new material wasn't just revolutionary but safe, accessible, and ethically sound. On a rainy afternoon, she met with Mia and Devon in a quiet cafe to discuss the next phase. "We need to address scalability," Mia said, voice low but firm. "Right now, production capacity is limited by specialized bioreactors and polymer synthesis." Devon nodded. "If we want to make a global impact, we have to figure out mass manufacturing without compromising quality." Elena took a sip of her coffee, her mind racing. "Maybe we need to think beyond traditional factories. Decentralized production hubs, closer to raw material sources, to reduce carbon footprint." "That's ambitious," Devon said. "But doable. We'll need investment and partnerships with forestry groups. Elena's thoughts drifted to her father, whose small woodworking shop had been a sanctuary of craftsmanship and patience. "Respect the source," he'd said. "Wood is alive, even if it's silent." Could they maintain that respect on an industrial scale? The question gnawed at her. At night, she scrolled through messages from supporters and critics alike. An anonymous tip arrived, warning of corporate espionage attempts to steal Superwood's formula. Elena tightened security protocols immediately. The team implemented encrypted communications, biometric access controls, and strict compartmentalization of sensitive data. Trust was precious, and betrayal was a constant shadow. Then came a call from Elon Musk. "We're moving forward with integrating Superwood into Starship's interior panels. It's a leap forward for sustainable space travel." His voice carried excitement and urgency. "But it means we need full compliance with aerospace standards. I want your team on site for oversight." Elena felt a surge of adrenaline. The convergence of space tech and sustainable materials was the culmination of everything she'd worked for. Preparations began for the collaboration with SpaceX engineers, merging disciplines and cultures in a shared mission. The challenges were immense. Superwood had to meet strict fire safety, off-gassing, and microgravity durability standards. The fusion of biotech and aerospace demanded innovation at every level. As the project advanced, Elena found solace in quiet moments with Jake and Devin. Jake's admiration grew into deep respect. He understood the complexity and sacrifice behind the headlines. Devin remained her steady anchor, his pragmatism balancing her idealism. Together, they navigated sleepless nights, ethical debates, and design dilemmas. But the pressures mounted. A major supplier faced a contamination scandal, risking delays and safety concerns. Regulatory bodies announced new testing requirements, threatening to stall approvals. Critics intensified their rhetoric, questioning Superwood's environmental claims and patent ethics. The public discourse was a battlefield, and Elena was at its center. One evening, after a grueling meeting, she collapsed into her chair, exhaustion and doubt overwhelming her. Devin sat beside her quietly. "You're not alone in this," he said softly. "We'll get through it." She looked up, gratitude shining through her fatigue. "I want to believe that. I really do." A breakthrough arrived when Mia discovered a novel enzyme capable of accelerating Superwood's biodegradation at end of life, enabling a true circular life cycle. This innovation answered some of the ethical concerns and environmental critics. Elena publicly announced the development, emphasizing their commitment to sustainability beyond just construction. The move was hailed as visionary, earning new supporters and reinvigorating the project's momentum. As the Oakland complex welcomed its first residents, Elena walked through the hallways, hearing stories of warmth, comfort, and connection to the space. The building wasn't just a structure, it was a living testament to human ingenuity and hope. Yet, she knew the journey was far from over. The challenges of scaling, regulation, and societal acceptance loomed large. And then, one night, a cryptic message appeared on her encrypted inbox: "The final test is upon you. Trust no one but the wood." The warning chilled her. What new trials awaited? Could Superwood survive the ultimate scrutiny, and could she endure the cost? As dawn broke over Oakland, Elena stared at a small Superwood token on her desk, its grain smooth, resilient, mysterious. She whispered, "We're ready. Let's see what the future holds." The first signs of trouble came quietly, like a subtle shift in the wind before a storm. Elena was reviewing the latest production batch reports when a flagged anomaly caught her eye. Several Superwood panels showed inconsistent tensile strength readings, far below their expected parameters. She frowned, signaling Mia and Devin to join her in the lab. "We can't ignore this," she said, voice tight. "If these defects go unnoticed, it could compromise the entire project." Mia swiped through data streams, cross-referencing batches and supply chains. "It appears to be isolated to slabs produced in one reactor batch, but we need a full audit immediately." Devin added, could be contamination, procedural deviation, or worse, sabotage. Elena's thoughts raced. The warning message from weeks ago returned: trust no one but the wood. Had someone inside the operation tried to undermine their work? Security had been tightened, but paranoia gnawed at her. She convened a confidential meeting with the core team, emphasizing transparency and vigilance. Everyone pledged cooperation, yet Elena sensed a fracture forming beneath the surface. Whispers of blame and fear threatened the unity they'd built. Meanwhile, media outlets picked up on rumors of production inconsistencies, sparking fresh waves of skepticism and investor anxiety. A rival materials corporation seized the moment to launch a smear campaign, accusing Superwood of being unsafe and untested. Elena's public relations team scrambled to issue statements and arrange interviews. The pressure was suffocating. Determined to confront the issue head-on, Elena arranged a live demonstration. In front of skeptical reporters, she oversaw rigorous testing of suspect panels alongside verified samples, showcasing Superwood's resilience. The tests passed, but Elena knew this was a temporary reprieve. Backstage, she pushed her team harder to identify the root cause. Night after night, they delved into the supply chain, analyzing every step from raw material sourcing to reactor calibration. It was Devin who made a breakthrough. An unnoticed fluctuation in reactor temperature correlated with the faulty batch. It wasn't just a technical glitch, he said gravely. Someone tampered with the system controls. The revelation hit like a bombshell. Elena felt betrayal burn deep. She called an emergency security review. Surveillance footage was painstakingly analyzed, revealing a shadowy figure accessing the reactor room during an unscheduled time. But their identity remained elusive, masked by stolen credentials and forged passes. The hunt for the saboteur began. In the chaos, Elena's relationship strained. Some team members grew fearful, others suspicious, and trust became fragile. Yet Devin remained her steady rock. "We have to keep the mission above the noise," he reminded her. "Don't let fear fracture us." The crisis forced Elena to re-examine her leadership. She initiated open forums for team members to voice concerns and ideas, fostering solidarity. She also increased transparency with investors and the public, detailing corrective actions and safety assurances. Meanwhile, the SpaceX collaboration pressed forward. The integration of Superwood panels into spacecraft interiors demanded flawless quality. Testing environments mimicked deep space radiation, microgravity, and extreme temperature swings. Elena spent long hours coordinating with aerospace engineers, pushing the material to its limits. One late night, Mia brought a piece of the latest batch for inspection. "Look at this," she said, running her fingers over the grain. "It's more uniform, stronger, and with improved polymer bonding." Hope flickered again. The next step was critical, a full-scale simulation of a manned spacecraft cabin interior, incorporating Superwood components. The trial would assess safety, durability, and comfort under space mission conditions. Elena was invited to observe. The test chamber was a sterile, high-tech space filled with sensors and monitoring equipment. The Superwood panels glowed softly under LED lights, exuding a warmth rare in synthetic materials. Simulated vibrations mimicked launch forces, followed by zero-gravity conditions. Elena watched the live data streams with bated breath. The panels flexed and absorbed shock as designed, maintaining structural integrity. Environmental controls tested moisture and air quality, revealing Superwood's breathability and resistance to off-gassing. The final trial was a rapid-fire impact test designed to simulate micrometeoroid strikes. As sensors recorded every fragment and shockwave, the panels held strong, dissipating energy without cracking. The room erupted in applause. This was a pivotal victory. Yet, amidst triumph, Elena felt a deeper urgency. The sabotage incident underscored vulnerabilities, not just in the material, but in the ecosystem of trust and security. She realized that the future of Superwood depended not only on science but on the integrity and resilience of the people behind it. Days later, the saboteur was identified, a disgruntled former engineer who'd been dismissed for ethical breaches but retained covert access. The individual was arrested, but the damage lingered. Elena took the opportunity to launch a company-wide ethics and security training initiative, reinforcing a culture of accountability and respect. As the Oakland complex officially opened its doors, residents marveled at the living, breathing quality of the building. Superwood's promise had become reality, homes that were sustainable, durable, and beautiful. In a heartfelt speech, Elena reflected on the journey. Innovation is never a straight path. It's filled with obstacles, setbacks, and tests, not just of materials, but of character. Superwood is more than wood. It's a testament to perseverance, trust, and the human spirit. Elon Musk praised the achievement in a social media post. Superwood isn't just a material, it's a movement. Proud to stand with Elena and her team as they redefine what's possible. Yet the cryptic messages continued. A new anonymous contact reached out with information about emerging global competitors and potential industrial espionage. The stakes were escalating. Elena realized the battle for Superwood's future was far from over. Standing on the rooftop of the Oakland complex, she held a small Superwood token, feeling its grain beneath her fingertips. "We've come so far," she whispered. "But this is just the beginning." The morning after the saboteur's arrest, Elena woke to an unexpected silence that felt both eerie and momentous. The crisis had shaken BioStruck's foundation, but now, with one threat removed, she could focus fully on growth. Yet the message on her encrypted phone from the night before lingered in her mind: the battle isn't just here. Look beyond. What could it mean? That same day, she convened a strategic meeting with Mia, Devin, and the newly appointed security chief, Marcus. "We have to think globally," Elena began, her voice steady but urgent. "Superwood's impact can't be limited by borders or politics. But that means anticipating international challenges, trade barriers, patent disputes, espionage." Marcus nodded. "We're ramping up surveillance and cyber defenses, but we'll also need alliances. Trusted partners in other countries, research institutions, even governments." Mia suggested expanding collaborations with universities specializing in sustainable materials. Devin advocated for building community engagement campaigns abroad to foster grassroots support. The conversation stretched for hours, plans weaving out like threads in a complex tapestry. Later, Elena received an invitation to present Superwood at the Global Innovation Summit in Geneva, Switzerland. It was an opportunity to showcase their progress on an international stage and forge critical partnerships. But it also meant exposing their technology to potential competitors and spies. Weighing risks against rewards, Elena accepted. Arriving in Geneva, the grandeur of the summit dazzled her. Leaders, scientists, investors from every continent gathered under a vast glass dome, buzzing with energy. Elena's presentation captivated the audience, detailing Superwood's science, environmental benefits, and space applications. She emphasized transparency and ethical innovation, responding to tough questions with honesty and conviction. Among the crowd, she noticed a figure observing closely. A sharp-eyed man with a subtle but intense presence. After the session, he approached with a handshake and a measured smile. "Dr. Reed, I'm Alexander Moreau from a European Materials Consortium. Your work is impressive. Perhaps we could discuss collaboration." Elena felt cautious but intrigued. They arranged a private meeting. Moreau spoke of joint ventures, shared research facilities, and co-development of next-generation biocomposites. He hinted at funding streams and political support but warned, the industry is watching. Trust is fragile. Alliances must be strategic and discreet. Elena agreed but resolved to proceed with vigilance. Back home, BioStruck's labs buzzed with renewed energy. The international spotlight invigorated the team but also drew fresh scrutiny. Cyber attacks increased, attempts to breach data systems grew more sophisticated. Marcus coordinated with global security networks, creating firewalls and protocols that resembled digital fortresses. On the production floor, Mia pioneered methods to increase yield without sacrificing quality, utilizing AI-driven monitoring and predictive maintenance. Devon managed supply chains, forging partnerships with sustainable forestry operations in the Pacific Northwest and Canada. The vision expanded. Superwood wasn't just a material, it was a global movement intertwining environment, technology, and culture. Yet Elena sensed that with every step forward, shadows lengthened. Anonymous tips warned of aggressive tactics by rival companies, including sabotage, disinformation campaigns, and attempts to infiltrate their network. One evening, a chilling incident occurred, a power outage at the main production facility caused by a suspected cyber attack. Backup generators kicked in, but production halted for hours, causing delays and financial losses. The team rallied, working around the clock to restore systems and reassure clients. Elena addressed the staff, her voice resolute, "We're facing unprecedented challenges, but that means we're doing something truly transformative. Our strength is in unity and transparency." As the year progressed, BioStruct launched pilot programs with municipalities in California and Europe, constructing affordable housing, public buildings, and eco-friendly community centers using Superwood. Each project showcased versatility and beauty, drawing praise from architects and residents alike. The Oakland complex's success became a case study in sustainable urban development, inspiring other cities to follow suit. During a visit to one such site, Elena encountered families whose lives had been changed, homes that were warm in winter, cool in summer, and infused with a natural ambience. "It's more than a building," one mother told her. "It feels like hope." These moments fueled Elena's determination, reminding her of the stakes beyond science and industry. However, political tensions surfaced. Trade disputes and environmental regulations complicated cross-border collaborations. Some governments imposed tariffs or questioned BioStruct's patents, citing national security concerns around synthetic biology. Elena found herself navigating a maze of diplomacy and advocacy, attending international forums and meeting with policymakers. She realized the battle for Superwood's future was as much political as scientific. In the midst of this, Elon Musk's vision for Mars colonization accelerated. SpaceX announced plans to outfit new Starship models with Superwood interiors, emphasizing sustainability and crew comfort. Elena's team worked closely with aerospace engineers, refining material formulations for zero-gravity environments and radiation shielding. The prospect of humans living and working in Superwood structures beyond Earth was exhilarating. Yet, the message she'd received, "Look beyond," echoed louder. Was the real test not just building better materials, but building better systems of trust, cooperation, and resilience? One night, Elena reviewed a dossier on global material science competitors. A pattern emerged: strategic moves, funding shifts, partnerships forming in secret. The landscape was evolving into a high-stakes chessboard. Determined to protect their legacy, Elena convened a summit of trusted partners, sharing intelligence and coordinating strategies. "Superwood's potential transcends markets," she told them. "It represents a new era. But we must defend it with vigilance and integrity." As she stood on the balcony of her Geneva hotel, gazing at the city lights, Elena felt both the weight and promise of her journey. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges unseen and alliances untested. Yet beneath it all, Superwood remained, a living, breathing symbol of human ingenuity and hope. The future was here, and it was up to them to shape it. The breakthrough Elena had long awaited finally came during a routine experiment that quickly spiraled into something extraordinary. Mia was adjusting the bioreactor's nutrient mix when she noticed an unexpected spike in the polymerization rate of Superwood fibers. "Elena, come look at this," Mia called urgently. Elena hurried over, eyes scanning the data. The fibers had begun self-healing small microfractures faster than any previously recorded test. This was more than durability, it was adaptability, a living material responding to damage as if it had a consciousness. The implications were staggering. If Superwood could repair itself autonomously, the lifespan of any structure built from it could multiply exponentially, transforming everything from housing to aerospace. The team immediately began designing stress tests to push the self-healing capabilities to their limits. Panels were deliberately scratched, pierced, and stressed under extreme conditions. Time and again, the material closed cracks and restored strength without human intervention. News of the discovery spread quickly within BioStruct, sparking a surge of excitement and renewed energy. Elena called a press conference to announce the advancement, cautiously balancing enthusiasm with responsible messaging to avoid hype. In her speech, she described Superwood as a living testament to what's possible when technology and nature converge. Reactions were mixed, scientists marveled, investors grew eager, but critics questioned long-term stability and ecological impact. Elena welcomed the scrutiny, confident that transparency would win the day. Meanwhile, the sabotage incident still lingered in her mind. The self-healing property might also serve as a defense mechanism against tampering. If the material could recognize and repair damage, it might thwart future sabotage attempts. This prospect added an intriguing layer of security to Superwood's profile. As testing continued, Elon Musk's SpaceX team integrated the new self-healing panels into prototype Starship interiors. Astronauts involved in simulations reported a comforting warmth and subtle organic feel, unlike the cold metal cabins they were used to. The psychological benefits of this connection to nature in space environments were an unexpected bonus. At BioStruct, the team expanded rapidly, attracting top talent eager to work on such cutting-edge materials. Elena emphasized the importance of culture and ethics, fostering an environment where innovation thrived alongside responsibility. One afternoon, she received a call from an environmental advocacy group requesting collaboration on reforestation projects using Superwood technology to promote sustainable timber alternatives worldwide. The opportunity aligned perfectly with BioStruct's mission. Elena saw this as a chance to heal not just the built environment but the natural one as well. Plans for pilot programs in vulnerable ecosystems unfolded, blending bioengineering with conservation. But the world outside was not always welcoming. A new wave of misinformation campaigns emerged online, fueled by fears of synthetic materials replacing natural forests and jobs. Social media buzzed with conspiracy theories about designer trees and environmental disasters. Elena and her team responded with education campaigns, community workshops, and open lab tours, emphasizing Superwood's ecological benefits and safety. Slowly, public perception began to shift. One memorable moment came during a community event in Seattle where a local carpenter, once skeptical, declared, "This isn't just wood, it's hope for our future." On the political front, Elena engaged with lawmakers, advocating for policies supporting sustainable innovation and international cooperation. She testified before congressional committees, navigating complex debates about patents, environmental standards, and trade. It was exhausting but necessary work. At night, Elena often found solace in quiet walks through the Oakland complex. Watching children play among the Superwood structures, hearing neighbors share stories of comfort and security, she felt the true impact of her work beyond the laboratory. Yet, beneath the surface, challenges persisted. A competitor launched a legal challenge claiming patent infringement, threatening costly litigation. The team braced for a protracted battle. Simultaneously, new competitors emerged in Asia and Europe, racing to develop rival materials. Elena recognized that the race was not just scientific but also strategic and diplomatic. Trust and collaboration would be the keys to survival and success. As the year drew to a close, Elena reflected on how far they had come, from a bold idea to a global movement with the power to reshape industries and societies. Superwood had evolved from a remarkable material to a symbol of human resilience and possibility. Yet she knew that every breakthrough brought new responsibilities and challenges. The future was uncharted, but with every fiber of Superwood, she was ready to face it head-on. The dawn of a new year brought fresh challenges and unexpected opportunities for Elena and her team. After the breakthrough in Superwood's self-healing abilities, the world's eyes were firmly fixed on BioStruct, and the pressure to deliver on promises intensified. Investors pushed for rapid commercialization, governments debated regulatory frameworks, and the media scrutinized every move. Elena found herself navigating a complex web of innovation, ethics, and politics. The next frontier was scaling production without compromising quality, a feat easier said than done. The bioreactors that created Superwood fibers operated with delicate precision, and scaling them to industrial levels risked unpredictable variations. Mia and her engineering team tackled this with a mix of AI-driven controls and enhanced monitoring systems, but occasional anomalies still appeared. Each glitch threatened to derail production timelines and erode stakeholder confidence. Simultaneously, Elena focused on broadening Superwood's applications beyond construction and aerospace. Partnerships formed with automotive manufacturers exploring lightweight, durable interiors, with electronics companies envisioning flexible, eco-friendly casings. And with furniture designers inspired by the material's warmth and resilience. The potential felt limitless. However, with expansion came growing pains. Supply chains were strained as demand for sustainable raw inputs soared. BioStruct worked closely with certified sustainable forestry operations, but local communities expressed concerns about resource depletion and land use. Elena initiated dialogues with community leaders, emphasizing transparency and shared benefits. The project's social impact weighed heavily on her. Meanwhile, the shadow of espionage never fully lifted. Marcus reported persistent cyber intrusion attempts and insider threats. BioStruct's security protocols evolved constantly, but Elena knew vigilance was a never-ending battle. During a high-level security briefing, a startling discovery emerged, an encrypted data leak pointing toward a potential mole within the company. The revelation sent shockwaves through leadership. Elena faced a difficult decision. Trust her team while initiating discreet investigations to root out the threat. The tension permeated daily operations, threatening morale and unity. Amid this, Elon Musk announced a historic Mars mission date, cementing BioStruct's role in interplanetary exploration. The collaboration brought renewed focus and excitement, yet the stakes had never been higher. Failure was not an option. To ease tensions and inspire her team, Elena organized a retreat, a chance to reconnect, recharge, and reaffirm shared purpose. Away from the pressures of labs and meetings, the group bonded over stories, challenges, and visions for the future. New friendships formed, and trust slowly rebuilt. Back at headquarters, a surprise visitor arrived, Dr. Samuel Ortiz, a pioneering synthetic biologist with a controversial reputation. He proposed a joint venture exploring next-gen Superwood composites incorporating nanocellular structures to enhance strength and flexibility. The proposal sparked fierce debates within BioStruct. Some saw it as the next logical step, others feared losing control or compromising the company's mission. Elena weighed the risks and benefits carefully, ultimately deciding to proceed under strict oversight. As experiments began, the material displayed remarkable properties but also unpredictable behaviors, requiring cautious optimism. Concurrently, public interest in Superwood grew exponentially. Schools integrated lessons on sustainable materials into curricula, architects held conferences, cities debated adopting Superwood standards. Elena spoke frequently at events, emphasizing responsible innovation and global cooperation. Yet, the legal battles escalated. The patent infringement suit dragged on, draining resources and distracting leadership. BioStruct fought fiercely, rallying support from the scientific community and advocacy groups. One breakthrough came when independent researchers published papers validating Superwood's unique biostructure, bolstering BioStruct's claims. International tensions over technology sharing rose as countries eyed Superwood's strategic advantages. Elena engaged in delicate diplomacy, balancing transparency with protection of proprietary knowledge. The experience reshaped her understanding of leadership. Success demanded not only vision and science but also political savvy and ethical clarity. Late one evening, as she reviewed data on upcoming prototypes, a sudden alert flashed across her screen: an anomaly in the bioreactor feedstock from the Pacific Northwest suppliers. Immediate investigation revealed a contamination risk that could undermine months of progress. The source traced back to a rogue logging operation violating sustainability agreements. Elena acted swiftly, coordinating with authorities to halt the operation and secure alternative supplies. The incident underscored the fragility of their ecosystem approach. In a rare moment of quiet, Elena reflected on the journey, the triumphs, setbacks, betrayals, and alliances. Superwood was no longer just a material or a project, it was a living story woven with human hopes and struggles. The stakes extended beyond labs and boardrooms to the very future of how humanity built, lived, and dreamed. As dawn broke over Oakland, Elena looked out over the cityscape framed by Superwood structures bathed in morning light. The path forward was daunting, but the promise was undeniable. Superwood was here. And it was changing the world. Elena's attention turned toward education and inspiring the next generation as BioStruck's success rippled through communities worldwide. She launched the Superwood Academy, a program designed to train students, engineers, and architects in sustainable biomaterials technology. Partnering with universities across the US and Europe, the Academy blended hands-on workshops with cutting-edge research, creating a dynamic learning environment. The initiative quickly gained momentum. Young minds, eager and idealistic, flocked to study the mysteries of superwood, its biology, chemistry, and engineering. Elena found herself mentoring future innovators, watching as they challenged conventions and dreamed boldly. Meanwhile, the industry began transforming. Construction companies shifted toward green building standards incorporating superwood, leading to reduced carbon footprints and healthier living spaces. Architects experimented with Superwood's flexibility, creating fluid, organic designs that blurred the lines between nature and technology. The aesthetic revolution was accompanied by practical advances. Buildings became more energy efficient, resilient against natural disasters, and remarkably cost-effective. Elena's team also explored medical applications. The biocompatibility of Superwood opened possibilities for biodegradable implants and prosthetics, sparking collaborations with leading biomedical researchers. Trials showed promising results, hinting at a future where Superwood could heal not just buildings but bodies. Yet, challenges loomed. The legal battles dragged on, testing BioStruck's resilience and resolve. A key patent dispute reached the Supreme Court, drawing public attention and dividing opinions. The outcome could define the future of synthetic biomaterials worldwide. Elena dedicated herself to the fight, speaking publicly about innovation's importance while respecting intellectual property laws. On a personal level, the weight of leadership sometimes felt isolating. Elena missed quiet moments and simple pleasures. Her relationship with Devon deepened, providing solace and grounding amid turmoil. Their shared commitment to BioStruck's mission was a bond but also a source of tension, as long hours and high stakes strained private time. One evening, after a grueling board meeting, Devon surprised Elena with a handwritten letter expressing love and hope. It reminded her why the fight was worth every sacrifice. In the midst of progress, BioStruck faced an unprecedented crisis. A sudden outbreak of a new fungal pathogen threatened forests supplying the bioreactor feedstock. The fungal spores were aggressive, rapidly decimating trees and causing alarm among environmentalists and industry alike. Elena mobilized a rapid response team, blending synthetic biology, environmental science, and community action. They engineered a bioagent capable of halting the fungus, deploying it carefully to protect ecosystems without unintended harm. The battle was fierce, involving field tests, regulatory approvals, and delicate negotiations with forestry agencies. Success came slowly but marked a triumph of science and stewardship. The crisis underscored the interconnectedness of BioStruck's mission. Not just creating materials but safeguarding the natural world that made it possible. On the international front, alliances forged earlier faced tests as geopolitical tensions flared. Trade embargoes and shifting policies threatened supply chains and collaborations. Elena became a reluctant diplomat, attending summits and negotiating terms that balanced national interests with shared global benefits. Her speeches emphasized the urgency of cooperation in an era of climate crisis and technological disruption. Back at BioStruct, innovation never slowed. Researchers pushed boundaries, exploring genetic enhancements to superwood fibers that could store energy or purify air. Prototypes of energy harvesting panels integrated into building facades garnered excitement, hinting at a future where buildings could power themselves sustainably. The public's fascination with superwood grew, blending admiration with awe and sometimes fear. Media narratives varied, from utopian visions of ecological harmony to dystopian warnings of synthetic overreach. Elena embraced transparency, hosting open forums and encouraging dialogue to demystify the technology and its implications. She believed informed communities were essential to ethical innovation. As the years passed, Superwood's impact became visible worldwide. Slums transformed into vibrant neighborhoods with sustainable housing. Earthquake-prone regions installed flexible superwood structures that absorbed shocks, saving lives and livelihoods. The dream of off-world colonies equipped with superwood habitats moved closer to reality with every successful SpaceX mission. Elena's journey from scientist to visionary leader crystallized into a legacy of resilience, hope, and progress. The challenges never ceased, but neither did the belief that humanity could build a better world, one fiber at a time. Standing before a graduating class at the Superwood Academy, Elena reflected on how far they had come. Innovation is not just invention, she told the students, it's responsibility. It's courage. And above all, it's love, for our planet, our communities, and our shared future. The room erupted in applause, a testament to the power of dreams grounded in science and compassion. Superwood was more than a material, it was a movement, a new chapter in humanity's story. And Elena Reed was proud to help write it. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The challenges of global expansion came into sharp focus as BioStruct's operations stretched across continents, each region bringing unique opportunities and obstacles. Elena traveled frequently, bridging cultural divides and technical hurdles. In Southeast Asia, she witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of deforestation and poverty. Scenes that fueled her resolve to make superwood accessible to vulnerable communities. There, local artisans adapted superwood techniques into traditional crafts, blending innovation with heritage. The fusion was inspiring, a reminder that technology must respect and uplift culture rather than replace it. Yet supply chains proved fragile. Political instability in some regions disrupted raw material flows, forcing BioStruct to develop contingency plans and diversified sourcing strategies. Elena coordinated with governments, NGOs, and local leaders, fostering partnerships based on mutual benefit and transparency. During a visit to a remote village in Indonesia, she met a young woman named Sari, whose family had lost their home to a typhoon. With Superwood, they rebuilt quickly, creating a structure both resilient and beautiful. Sari's gratitude and hope embodied the material's promise. In Europe, regulatory environments were complex and varied. Navigating differing standards and legal frameworks demanded legal expertise and patience. Elena's team worked tirelessly to harmonize compliance without stifling innovation. Meanwhile, the patent battle reached a turning point. The Supreme Court ruled in BioStruct's favor, validating their intellectual property and setting a precedent for synthetic biology patents globally. The decision was a monumental victory but also painted a target on their backs. Competitors responded by accelerating R&D, seeking alternative materials and workarounds. BioStruct intensified innovation efforts, pushing the boundaries of Superwood's capabilities. One such innovation was the development of bioresponsive superwood, capable of adjusting its properties in response to environmental conditions, expanding or contracting to regulate temperature, for example. Prototypes showed promise, opening new avenues in smart building design. The social impact continued to grow. Cities began integrating Superwood into public infrastructure, bridges, schools, transportation hubs, creating spaces that were not only functional but connected people to nature. Urban planners praised the material's versatility and environmental benefits, while residents marveled at the aesthetic warmth it brought to concrete jungles. Back in the United States, Elena grappled with balancing BioStruct's commercial ambitions and social mission. Pressure mounted from investors demanding higher profits and faster growth, sometimes at odds with sustainability goals. Elena held firm, advocating for long-term vision over short-term gains. Tensions within the boardroom tested her leadership, but her integrity and passion inspired loyal allies. At home, she nurtured her relationship with Devon, finding strength in shared struggles and dreams. Their conversations ranged from technical challenges to philosophical reflections on humanity's place in the natural world. One quiet evening, they sketched plans for a future home built entirely from superwood, symbolizing the fusion of personal and professional dreams. On the space exploration front, BioStruct's collaboration with SpaceX intensified. Superwood habitats were tested in extreme conditions simulating Martian environments, radiation, low gravity, temperature swings. The material's adaptability and durability impressed astronauts and engineers alike. Plans solidified for Superwood to be a key component of the first sustainable off-world colony, a dream Elena had nurtured since the beginning. However, risks remained. A small but vocal group of environmental skeptics and ethicists questioned the long-term ecological effects of widespread synthetic biology use. Public debates grew heated, forcing Elena to engage thoughtfully and openly. She championed rigorous science, ethical oversight, and community engagement as pillars of responsible innovation. Meanwhile, internal challenges surfaced as employee burnout and turnover increased amid intense workloads and high stakes. Elena prioritized wellness initiatives, fostering a culture of support and balance. She believed that innovation flourished when people felt valued and cared for. Toward the year's end, BioStruct unveiled the first fully autonomous Superwood manufacturing facility, integrating robotics, AI, and sustainable energy. The facility's launch marked a milestone in efficiency and environmental responsibility. Investors celebrated, and the team felt a surge of pride. Yet Elena remained grounded, aware that technology was only part of the journey. The human stories, the families, communities, and ecosystems touched by Superwood, were what truly mattered. At a gala honoring BioStruct's achievements, Elena spoke of hope and responsibility. Superwood is not just a material, she said, it's a bridge between science and society, nature and innovation. Our future depends on how we build, together. As applause echoed, Elena looked beyond the stage, imagining a world transformed by the fiber she had helped bring to life. A world where resilience, beauty, and sustainability intertwined. The journey was far from over, but the promise of Superwood burned brighter than ever. Elena awoke to the quiet hum of the lab, the faint glow of monitors reflecting off the sleek surfaces of Superwood prototypes. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Today marked the beginning of the first public demonstration of Superwood's full potential beyond construction. BioStruct had partnered with a major automotive manufacturer to unveil a concept car built primarily from Superwood composites. The vehicle promised not only exceptional strength and weight savings but also integrated bioadaptive features that responded to environmental conditions and driver input. As Elena walked through the exhibition hall, she observed the curious faces of journalists, investors, and engineers, their eyes wide with wonder and skepticism alike. The car gleamed under the lights, its fluid lines and natural grain patterns setting it apart from anything else on the market. The demonstration began with a live stress test. The Superwood panels absorbed impacts with surprising resilience, visibly flexing then returning to their original form without damage. Sensors embedded in the composite communicated real-time data on structural integrity and adaptive responses. Spectators murmured in amazement, capturing every moment on phones and cameras. Beyond strength, the car's interior offered an unexpected warmth and comfort, the material's natural insulating properties creating a cozy atmosphere even during a simulated winter test. The integration of energy-harvesting Superwood panels meant the vehicle could partially power itself through solar exposure, a glimpse into a sustainable automotive future. After the demonstration, Elena fielded questions from reporters, balancing technical explanations with accessible language. The media coverage was overwhelmingly positive, positioning Superwood as a game-changing innovation. Yet, amid the excitement, Elena remained mindful of the broader implications. The automotive industry was only one of many sectors that Superwood could disrupt, and each brought unique regulatory and ethical considerations. Meanwhile, within BioStruct, the team pushed the boundaries further. A new project began focusing on Superwood-based wearable technology. Flexible, durable, and biodegradable fabrics that could monitor health metrics or adapt to climate changes. Early prototypes showed promise, blending seamlessly with natural human movement. The intersection of biology and technology became more intimate and personal, raising new questions about privacy, consent, and the meaning of organic life. Elena spearheaded forums to address these concerns, ensuring that innovation proceeded with societal values in mind. On the environmental front, pilot programs using Superwood in coastal restoration projects demonstrated remarkable success. Artificial reefs and breakwaters built from Superwood resisted erosion and promoted marine biodiversity, showcasing the material's versatility and ecological compatibility. Community members who had long feared coastal degradation expressed cautious optimism. In parallel, Elena faced personal trials. The relentless pace of innovation, combined with public scrutiny and legal pressures, tested her resilience. A close colleague's unexpected departure amid internal conflicts shook the team's morale. Elena grappled with balancing empathy and leadership, striving to maintain unity while adapting to changing dynamics. To recharge, she sought solace in nature, often retreating to a secluded cabin surrounded by towering redwoods. There, the familiar scent of wood and earth reminded her of why she had embarked on this journey, to harmonize technology and nature for a better future. One evening, a late-night call from Elon Musk shifted focus back to space exploration. The latest tests on Superwood habitats in zero-gravity environments had revealed new challenges with material fatigue and radiation shielding. Collaborative efforts intensified, blending BioStruct's expertise with SpaceX's engineering prowess. The stakes could not have been higher, the dream of sustainable life beyond Earth depended on their success. Public interest in the Mars mission soared, and Superwood's role became emblematic of humanity's aspirations. Meanwhile, regulatory scrutiny increased as governments worldwide debated frameworks for synthetic biology patents, environmental impact, and bioethics. Elena engaged with policymakers, advocating for balanced approaches that encouraged innovation while protecting ecosystems and communities. She believed that transparent dialogue was essential to bridging gaps between science and society. Amid these pressures, BioStruct's culture evolved. Wellness programs, flexible work arrangements, and creative spaces became priorities to sustain the team's health and creativity. Elena championed open communication, valuing diverse perspectives and fostering a shared sense of purpose. The company's journey was no longer just about Superwood but about building a sustainable, inclusive future. As the year progressed, breakthroughs continued. New Superwood variants exhibited enhanced fire resistance, crucial for applications in wildfire-prone areas. Disaster relief organizations expressed keen interest, envisioning rapid deploy shelters that combine strength, adaptability, and environmental responsibility. Each success reinforced Elena's belief in the material's transformative power. Standing before a global conference audience, Elena reflected on the path traveled, from humble beginnings in a lab to worldwide impact. Superwood represents more than science, it embodies a commitment to innovate with heart and responsibility, she said. The applause that followed echoed a collective hope for a world where technology and nature coexisted in harmony. The journey was far from over, but the foundation was strong. With every new fiber spun, every challenge met, and every life touched, Superwood was weaving the fabric of the future. Elena stood at the edge of the vast testing grounds where BioStruck's latest Superwood innovations were put through rigorous trials. Today marked the unveiling of Superwood's first modular housing units designed for rapid deployment in disaster zones. Years of research and development culminated in this moment, blending sustainability, strength, and speed of assembly. The units were designed to be lightweight yet incredibly durable, able to withstand earthquakes, floods, and harsh climates while providing comfort and safety. As the demonstration began, teams assembled the modules in record time, the pieces fitting together seamlessly like a high-tech puzzle. Local officials and humanitarian organizations watched closely, recognizing the potential to revolutionize disaster response and affordable housing worldwide. Elena explained how Superwood's self-healing properties could extend the lifespan of these shelters, reducing maintenance costs and environmental impact. Beyond the technical marvel, the emotional impact was palpable. Survivors of recent disasters shared stories of loss and hope, many expressing cautious optimism that such innovations could change their futures. Elena felt the weight of responsibility deepen. Innovation was meaningless without addressing human needs. Concurrently, BioStruck explored partnerships in the renewable energy sector. Superwood composites were integrated into wind turbine blades and solar panel frames, improving efficiency and longevity while reducing reliance on metals and plastics. Early prototypes underwent field testing in harsh environments, performing beyond expectations. The energy sector's embrace of Superwood signaled a broader shift toward circular economies and green technologies. However, as BioStruck's footprint expanded, so did scrutiny. Environmental groups raised concerns about the long-term ecological effects of large-scale Superwood harvesting and production. Some communities worried about disruptions to local ecosystems and livelihoods. Elena responded with transparency and dialogue, inviting critics to collaborate on monitoring and sustainability initiatives. The company launched community engagement programs, investing in reforestation and education, demonstrating commitment to responsible stewardship. Internally, BioStruck faced challenges adapting to rapid growth. Scaling innovation while preserving a culture of creativity and ethics required constant attention. Elena implemented new leadership training and innovation labs to nurture ideas and empower employees. She believed that the people behind Superwood were its greatest asset. On the international stage, geopolitical tensions complicated trade and technology sharing. Elena engaged in diplomatic efforts to promote cooperation, emphasizing that Superwood's benefits transcended borders and politics. Her speeches at global forums highlighted the urgency of collaboration in addressing climate change and sustainable development. Meanwhile, personal moments brought clarity and renewal. Elena and Devin's relationship deepened, offering balance amid professional demands. They shared dreams of building a future where technology served humanity and nature alike. Their conversations often circled back to the meaning of success and legacy. On a technical front, breakthroughs in Superwood's bioelectronic integration opened new horizons. Researchers developed prototypes of structures capable of real-time environmental sensing, adapting to pollution levels, weather changes, and structural stress. These smart buildings promised safer, healthier living spaces and more efficient resource use. The convergence of biology, electronics, and materials science challenged conventional boundaries, inspiring awe and ethical debate. Regulatory bodies worked alongside scientists to establish guidelines ensuring safety and privacy. BioStruck's commitment to ethical innovation was tested continuously as new possibilities emerged. Public interest surged, with media coverage portraying Superwood as a symbol of hope and progress. Documentaries, articles, and social media buzz celebrated its impact, but also raised questions about accessibility and equity. Elena championed initiatives to ensure Superwood's benefits reached underserved populations, fostering partnerships with NGOs and governments. In education, the Superwood Academy expanded its reach globally, training thousands in sustainable material sciences and bioengineering. Alumni networks flourished, driving innovation and community engagement worldwide. Elena took pride in nurturing this growing ecosystem of changemakers. As the chapter of rapid expansion unfolded, Elena remained grounded in the mission that had ignited her journey, to blend science and humanity, technology and nature, in pursuit of a resilient and equitable future. Every challenge faced, every victory earned, was a thread woven into the fabric of Superwood's evolving story, a story still unfolding, promising transformation beyond imagination. Elena sat quietly in her office late at night, the city lights flickering beyond the window, reflecting the whirlwind of progress and pressure that had come with BioStruck's rapid growth. The weight of leadership pressed heavily on her shoulders. Though Superwood's success was undeniable, new challenges tested her resolve. A whistleblower had leaked internal documents suggesting potential environmental risks related to the accelerated bioreactor processes used to produce superwood fibers. The media frenzy that followed threatened to undermine public trust. Elena faced a dual battle, managing the fallout and reaffirming BioStruck's commitment to transparency and safety. She immediately authorized a comprehensive internal audit, inviting independent experts to review the processes and assess environmental impacts. The findings were complex. While some concerns were valid, the overall impact was within sustainable limits, especially compared to traditional manufacturing. Still, the revelations prompted BioStruck to accelerate improvements in containment and waste management systems, investing heavily in next-generation bioreactors with enhanced safety features. Public communication became a priority. Elena held a live-streamed town hall, addressing questions candidly and sharing BioStruck's roadmap for continuous improvement. The raw honesty resonated with many, rebuilding some of the lost confidence. However, skeptics remained vocal, emphasizing the need for ongoing vigilance and independent oversight. Amid the turmoil, Elena found solace in her team. Scientists, engineers, and advocates rallied together, united by a shared belief in the mission. Collaboration deepened, fostering a culture where challenges were met with creativity and determination. Elena encouraged open dialogue, knowing that innovation thrived on diverse perspectives and critical scrutiny. Parallel to the crisis, BioStruck's technological front surged forward. Researchers unveiled a breakthrough in Superwood's biodegradability, enabling the material to decompose harmlessly after its life cycle while retaining strength and resilience during use. This advance opened possibilities in packaging, consumer goods, and temporary infrastructure, areas where waste reduction was paramount. Environmental groups cautiously welcomed the development, seeing potential for reducing plastic pollution and landfill strain. Meanwhile, BioStruck's work with SpaceX continued to push boundaries. Superwood prototypes passed rigorous tests simulating Mars's harsh environment, including radiation exposure, temperature extremes, and mechanical stress. The material's adaptability and resilience proved invaluable, positioning it as a cornerstone for sustainable off-world habitats. Elon Musk's vision of colonizing Mars and establishing a multiplanetary future hinged on innovations like Superwood, blending biology and engineering in unprecedented ways. At home, Elena struggled to maintain balance. The relentless pace and public scrutiny strained her personal relationships. Conversations with Devon became lifelines, offering perspective and emotional support. Together, they dreamed of quieter moments and the possibility of building a home that embodied their values, sustainable, resilient, and rooted in nature's wisdom. The journey was arduous, but their shared vision kindled hope. In a defining moment, Elena received news that a major global health organization had adopted Superwood-based materials for temporary field hospitals in disaster zones and epidemic outbreaks. The material's rapid deployability, durability, and biocompatibility were game-changers in emergency response. Seeing Superwood directly contribute to saving lives reaffirmed the profound impact of her work. Reflecting on the tumultuous year, Elena understood that progress was rarely linear. Setbacks, controversies, and doubts were part of the path toward meaningful change. Her leadership evolved, blending resilience with humility and a deepening commitment to ethical innovation. Standing before BioStruck's global team at the annual summit, she spoke with renewed conviction: "We are not just creating materials, we are shaping futures. Every fiber of Superwood carries our hopes, our responsibilities, and our promise to build a better world." The applause echoed through the auditorium, a chorus of shared determination and optimism. The story of Superwood was far from finished. It was, in many ways, just beginning. The dawn broke gently over the sprawling BioStruct campus as Elena prepared to embark on one of the most ambitious projects yet, the creation of a Superwood-based city prototype. This was no ordinary urban plan. It was a bold vision to reimagine human habitation by integrating Superwood's sustainable properties into every facet of life: homes, offices, public spaces, transportation, and green zones. The city would serve as a living laboratory, demonstrating the material's versatility, resilience, and ecological harmony on a grand scale. Months of design and collaboration had led to this moment, with architects, engineers, ecologists, and sociologists joining forces under Elena's leadership. The concept was revolutionary: structures that could self-repair minor damages, adapt to changing weather, and even sequester carbon dioxide through embedded biocatalysts. Elena walked through the blueprints and scale models, envisioning vibrant neighborhoods where nature and technology coexisted seamlessly. Community involvement was a cornerstone. Local residents would help shape the city's development to ensure it met real human needs and cultural values. The prototype site, a formerly neglected industrial area, was chosen for its potential to showcase transformation and regeneration. Construction began with impressive speed as Superwood modules were manufactured and assembled. The sight of trees being planted alongside newly erected structures symbolized renewal. Elena visited regularly, noting both progress and challenges. Workers adapted to new building techniques, sometimes struggling with unfamiliar materials and processes. To address this, BioStruct launched training programs and fostered a culture of continuous learning and innovation on site. Social scientists studied community dynamics, aiming to build a city that fostered connection, well-being, and resilience. As months passed, the city prototype took shape, a harmonious blend of sleek Superwood architecture and lush green spaces. Public plazas featured interactive installations crafted from bioadaptive Superwood, changing colors and textures with the seasons, engaging citizens and visitors alike. Schools incorporated living walls that improved air quality and provided hands-on environmental education. Transportation hubs integrated lightweight Superwood composites, reducing emissions and enhancing durability. The city quickly attracted attention from urban planners, environmentalists, and policymakers worldwide. Delegations visited to learn from BioStruct's model, sparking conversations about scaling such initiatives globally. Yet, Elena remained mindful of ongoing challenges. Questions arose about affordability and inclusivity. Could such innovative urban environments be accessible to all, or would they become enclaves of privilege? Elena championed policies to ensure mixed-income housing and equitable access to resources, emphasizing that sustainability must also be socially just. The city prototype also faced unexpected natural stresses. Storms and heat waves tested the resilience of Superwood structures. While most withstood conditions admirably, minor damages offered valuable data to refine materials and construction methods. These real-world trials underscored the importance of adaptability and continuous improvement. Community feedback sessions revealed residents' deepening connection to their environment and pride in participating in a pioneering project. Stories emerged of neighbors supporting each other, fostering a renewed sense of belonging often missing in modern cities. Elena found inspiration in these human connections, reaffirming her belief that technology's true purpose was to enhance life. Meanwhile, BioStruct's research expanded into biointegration on a cellular level. Scientists explored embedding Superwood fibers with living microorganisms that could detect pollutants or produce beneficial compounds. Ethical debates intensified around the merging of living and non-living materials, challenging society's definitions of nature and technology. Elena navigated these discussions with care, advocating for responsible innovation guided by diverse voices and rigorous oversight. On the global stage, climate change impacts accelerated, heightening urgency. Superwood's potential as a tool for carbon capture and sustainable development gained prominence in international climate talks. Elena spoke passionately, urging collaborative efforts to leverage biotechnology for planetary health. As the city prototype matured, it became a beacon of possibility, a tangible example of what was achievable when vision, science, and humanity aligned. Elena reflected on the journey from a single fiber in a lab to a living city pulsating with innovation and hope. The path had been arduous, filled with triumphs and setbacks, yet every step deepened her conviction that Superwood was more than material, it was a catalyst for transformation. The prototype city stood not just as a model but as a promise, a glimpse of a future where humanity and nature thrived together, woven tightly like the fibers of Superwood itself. Elena's phone buzzed incessantly that morning, but she barely noticed as she stood in the heart of the Superwood City prototype's newest district, a space dedicated to experimental agriculture and food sustainability. This project was born from the recognition that urban food systems needed urgent innovation, and BioStruct had partnered with leading agronomists to develop vertical farms and biointegrated greenhouses built with Superwood composites. The material's unique properties allowed for optimal light diffusion, temperature regulation, and moisture retention, creating microclimates that enhanced crop yields while minimizing energy use. As Elena walked through the lush greenery, she observed plants thriving under translucent Superwood panels that adjusted opacity automatically based on sunlight intensity. Sensors embedded in the structures monitored soil health, nutrient levels, and pest activity, enabling precision agriculture with minimal waste. Local residents, many from underserved neighborhoods, visited the farms regularly, learning sustainable practices and enjoying fresh produce. The initiative not only addressed food security but also fostered community engagement and education. However, the project was not without challenges. A sudden outbreak of a fungal disease threatened to devastate some of the crops, testing both the resilience of the Superwood structures and the team's responsiveness. Elena coordinated rapid response teams, integrating biocontrol methods and adjusting environmental conditions within the greenhouses to curb the spread. The crisis underscored the complexities of biointegrated systems and the need for adaptive management. Public interest soared as news of the urban farm's success spread. Media coverage highlighted how Superwood's versatility extended beyond construction to vital areas like food production and health. Investors expressed renewed confidence, and BioStruct stock rallied. Still, Elena knew this was just the beginning. Behind the scenes, researchers pushed forward with developing Superwood's next generation, fibers capable of not only structural support but also active interaction with living organisms. This meant the material could potentially respond dynamically to environmental changes, repair damage autonomously, and even participate in nutrient cycles. The implications were staggering, opening possibilities for buildings and infrastructure that functioned as living systems. Yet, such advances raised profound ethical questions about synthetic life, agency, and control. Elena organized multidisciplinary panels including ethicists, scientists, policymakers, and community leaders to navigate these debates thoughtfully. The goal was to ensure that innovation served humanity's best interests without compromising fundamental values. Meanwhile, geopolitical tensions over advanced biotechnologies grew. Nations scrambled to establish frameworks for intellectual property, biosecurity, and ethical standards. Elena emerged as a respected voice advocating for global cooperation and transparency, warning that the stakes transcended borders and called for collective stewardship. On the personal front, the relentless pace continued to strain Elena's well-being. She found moments of peace hiking the redwood forests near her childhood home, reconnecting with the natural world that had inspired her life's work. These retreats fueled her creativity and resilience, reminding her of the roots from which Superwood had grown. In a powerful moment, Elena received a letter from a young student who had visited the city prototype and decided to pursue a career in sustainable materials science. The letter expressed gratitude and hope, a poignant reminder of the ripple effects of her work beyond immediate innovations. Inspired, Elena doubled down on educational outreach, launching scholarship programs and mentorship networks to nurture the next generation of innovators. As the year progressed, Superwood continued to make headlines with unexpected applications, from biodegradable electronics to marine restoration projects. The material's adaptability seemed limitless, reflecting the vision and persistence of the team behind it. At a global sustainability summit, Elena presented compelling data on Superwood's carbon sequestration capabilities and life cycle benefits, calling for accelerated adoption to combat climate change. Her message resonated deeply, igniting collaborations among governments, NGOs, and industry leaders. Standing on the stage, she felt the weight of history but also the power of collective action. The story of Superwood had evolved from a scientific breakthrough to a movement, intertwining technology, ecology, and humanity's future. Elena knew challenges would continue, but she embraced the journey with hope and determination. In every fiber of Superwood, she saw the promise of a world where innovation and nature coexisted, growing stronger together. Elena stood before a packed auditorium, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nervous energy as she prepared to reveal BioStruck's latest breakthrough, Superwood Aero, an ultralight variant designed specifically for aerospace applications. The new material promised to revolutionize aircraft and spacecraft design by drastically reducing weight without compromising strength or durability. This innovation could slash fuel consumption and emissions, aligning perfectly with Elon Musk's vision for a more sustainable future in air and space travel. The journey to Superwood Aero had been arduous, demanding breakthroughs in molecular alignment and fiber integration to achieve the extraordinary strength-to-weight ratio required. Teams of scientists and engineers had worked around the clock, facing setbacks and failures before finally achieving success. Elena's speech highlighted how Superwood Aero could be used in next-generation passenger planes, drones, satellites, and even Mars-bound rockets. The aerospace industry, traditionally reliant on metals and composites with heavy carbon footprints, watched eagerly, sensing a paradigm shift. Shortly after the announcement, BioStruck partnered with major aerospace firms and SpaceX to begin prototyping aircraft and spacecraft components. Early tests confirmed the material's resilience under extreme pressures and temperatures, while offering unmatched flexibility and reparability. The ability of Superwood Aero to self-heal minor cracks or damage mid-flight was particularly groundbreaking, promising enhanced safety and reduced maintenance costs. However, the rapid pace of development brought intense scrutiny. Competitors questioned BioStruck's patents, and regulatory bodies imposed rigorous certification processes to ensure safety standards. Elena navigated these challenges with diplomacy and transparency, advocating for collaborative standards that prioritized innovation and public safety alike. Public fascination grew as media outlets covered Superwood Aero's potential to redefine transportation and exploration. Documentaries and interviews brought the science to life, inspiring viewers around the world. Yet, Elena remained cautious, emphasizing that technology was a tool, its true impact depended on ethical application and global cooperation. In the meantime, BioStruck expanded its manufacturing capacity, establishing new facilities equipped with advanced bioreactors and automated assembly lines optimized for Superwood Aero's precision demands. These investments also created thousands of skilled jobs, contributing to local economies and workforce development. As production ramped up, Elena made sustainability a core principle, ensuring energy efficiency, waste reduction, and fair labor practices permeated every level. Meanwhile, SpaceX integrated Superwood Aero components into the Starship program, accelerating preparations for Mars missions. The material's adaptability to Martian conditions and contribution to overall mission efficiency reinforced Elon Musk's confidence in its central role. On the personal front, Elena grappled with the ever-growing demands on her time and energy. Balancing visionary leadership with the pressures of public scrutiny and organizational complexity required constant focus and self-care. She found comfort in small rituals, morning runs, quiet evenings with Devon, moments of reflection in nature. Their relationship remained a source of strength and grounding amid the whirlwind of progress. The story of Superwood Aero also inspired new avenues of research, as scientists explored its integration with AI systems to create smart, responsive aircraft capable of adapting to environmental conditions and pilot needs in real time. These advances pushed the boundaries of both materials science and aerospace engineering, igniting excitement and debate across disciplines. At global forums, Elena championed equitable access to sustainable technologies, cautioning against monopolization or exclusion. She urged industry leaders to consider long-term impacts on communities and ecosystems, reinforcing BioStruct's mission to create technologies that uplift all humanity. Reflecting on the journey from a humble biofiber to a material poised to transform air and space travel, Elena marveled at the power of collaboration, vision, and resilience. Superwood Aero was more than a scientific achievement, it was a testament to what humanity could accomplish when driven by purpose and conscience. The chapter closed with Elena standing beneath the stars, contemplating the infinite possibilities ahead. In every gleam of Superwood Aero, she saw not just a material but a bridge to the future, lighter, stronger, and bound by hope. The BioStruct research facility buzzed with a new kind of energy as Elena and her team prepared to launch the Superwood Ocean Project, a visionary initiative aimed at restoring damaged marine ecosystems through innovative underwater structures made from superwood composites. The oceans, long suffering from pollution, acidification, and habitat destruction, urgently needed solutions that were effective, sustainable, and scalable. Superwood's unique combination of durability, biodegradability, and biointegration made it an ideal candidate for creating artificial reefs and protective barriers that could foster marine life recovery. Elena toured the prototype site, a stretch of degraded coral reef off the coast of Florida, where the first Superwood reef modules were to be deployed. These intricate structures mimic natural reef formations, designed to provide shelter and breeding grounds for fish, corals, and other organisms. The bioadaptive properties of Superwood allowed the modules to gradually degrade into organic nutrients, nourishing the ecosystem without leaving harmful residues. The deployment was a complex operation involving marine biologists, engineers, and local fishermen. The collaboration was crucial to ensure the structures integrated well with existing ecosystems and respected local livelihoods. Elena emphasized this community-first approach, believing that technology must work hand-in-hand with human and ecological needs. As the modules settled underwater, divers observed schools of fish cautiously exploring their new habitat. Early signs were promising, coral larvae began colonizing the surfaces, and biodiversity indices showed gradual improvement. The project attracted widespread media attention, highlighting Superwood's potential to heal some of the planet's most vulnerable environments. Yet, challenges persisted. Unpredictable weather patterns, rising sea temperatures, and invasive species threatened progress. Elena's team worked tirelessly to adapt designs and strategies, demonstrating resilience in the face of uncertainty. Concurrently, scientific research delved deeper into the interactions between Superwood materials and marine organisms. Experiments revealed fascinating symbiotic relationships, with certain microorganisms thriving within Superwood's porous fibers and contributing to nutrient cycles. These findings opened new possibilities for enhancing marine health and carbon sequestration through bioengineered materials. However, the novelty also sparked ethical debates about human intervention in natural processes and the long-term implications of introducing synthetic biomaterials into ocean ecosystems. Elena spearheaded efforts to establish transparent monitoring frameworks and engage with environmental stakeholders globally. The project's success depended not only on technological innovation but on building trust and shared responsibility. Back on land, BioStruct used lessons from the Ocean Project to inform urban sustainability initiatives, applying similar bioadaptive principles to stormwater management, green infrastructure, and pollution mitigation. The cross-pollination of ideas between marine and urban applications exemplified the holistic approach Elena championed. Meanwhile, public enthusiasm grew as citizen science programs invited people worldwide to participate in monitoring and protecting Superwood reefs. Educational campaigns fostered deeper connections to the oceans and highlighted the urgency of collective action. At international environmental summits, Elena presented compelling evidence that Superwood could be a pivotal tool in achieving the UN's Sustainable Development Goals related to life below water and climate action. Her message was clear: innovation must be coupled with stewardship and equity. Amid these sweeping developments, Elena reflected on the intertwined destinies of technology, nature, and humanity. Superwood's journey, from a lab experiment to a catalyst for ocean restoration, embodied hope and complexity. It demanded humility, collaboration, and courage. The chapter closed with Elena diving into the crystal-clear waters above the newly formed reefs, feeling a profound connection to the living world she had dedicated herself to protecting. In every fiber of Superwood, beneath the waves and beyond, she saw the promise of regeneration, resilience, and renewal. Elena stood at the threshold of what could be BioStruck's most ambitious and controversial project yet, integrating Superwood into affordable housing on a massive scale. The global housing crisis was intensifying, with millions facing inadequate or unsafe living conditions. BioStruck's vision was to leverage Superwood's strength, sustainability, and cost-effectiveness to build homes that were not only durable and eco-friendly but also accessible to underserved communities. Months of planning, stakeholder engagement, and prototype testing culminated in the launch of the Superwood Homes initiative. The first community was planned for a drought-stricken region in the southwestern United States, an area where affordable housing was scarce and environmental challenges severe. Elena's team collaborated closely with local governments, nonprofits, and residents to ensure the project addressed real needs and respected cultural contexts. The modular design of Superwood Homes allowed rapid assembly and customization, with components manufactured off-site and transported for quick on-ground construction. These homes featured innovative insulation, natural ventilation, and smart energy systems, drastically reducing utility costs and environmental impact. Elena visited the construction site frequently, witnessing the excitement and cautious optimism of the future residents. Many had endured decades of housing instability, and the promise of a safe, sustainable home sparked hope. Yet, the project faced hurdles: bureaucratic delays, skepticism from traditional builders, and concerns about long-term durability in harsh climates. Elena tackled these head-on, promoting transparency, community involvement, and rigorous testing. BioStruck launched an independent monitoring program, inviting third-party evaluations to validate performance claims. Over time, Superwood Homes proved resilient against extreme heat, wind, and even wildfires, thanks to the material's fire-resistant and self-healing properties. Residents reported comfort, safety, and reduced costs, bolstering the initiative's credibility. The social impact was profound: children could study without interruption, families found stability, and communities grew stronger. News of the initiative spread, attracting interest from governments and organizations worldwide. Elena received invitations to speak at international housing forums, advocating for scalable, sustainable solutions that balanced innovation with equity. BioStruck expanded production lines, establishing partnerships with local manufacturers and workforce training programs to stimulate economic development. However, the scaling effort raised questions about supply chain sustainability and potential environmental trade-offs. Elena emphasized a holistic approach, integrating circular economy principles and continuous innovation to minimize impacts. Alongside housing, the team explored integrating Superwood into public infrastructure, schools, clinics, community centers, creating ecosystems of sustainable buildings that supported social well-being. The initiative also spurred technological spin-offs, including Superwood-based water filtration systems and modular furniture, enhancing quality of life further. Throughout this journey, Elena remained deeply connected to the human stories behind the statistics. She met families who had found dignity and security in their new homes, inspiring her to push boundaries and deepen commitments. Yet, she also grappled with the complex realities of systemic inequality and the challenges of effecting change at scale. The Superwood Homes initiative was a beacon of progress but also a call to action for broader societal transformation. Elena's leadership evolved, blending visionary ambition with grounded empathy and pragmatic problem-solving. She cultivated diverse teams, fostered partnerships across sectors, and prioritized listening as much as leading. Reflecting on the initiative's first year, Elena recognized that true innovation required not only technology but also courage, collaboration, and compassion. The chapter closed with a community celebration, neighbors sharing stories, children playing in green spaces, and Elena standing among them, hopeful and determined. In every beam of Superwood, every brick laid, she saw the power to rebuild not just houses but lives, communities, and futures. Elena stared at the sprawling digital map in BioStruck's Innovation Hub, tracking the real-time data streams from Superwood installations worldwide. The network spanned from urban centers rebuilding with Superwood architecture to remote ecosystems benefiting from bioadaptive structures. This interconnected web was more than technology, it was a new paradigm of environmental stewardship powered by data, AI, and community participation. The latest initiative was the launch of the Superwood Smart Grid, an ambitious project designed to integrate Superwood's bioresponsive sensors into city infrastructures to optimize energy, water, and waste management. By embedding sensors within the material itself, buildings and public spaces could communicate with each other in centralized systems, creating a dynamic feedback loop that enhanced efficiency and sustainability. Elena and her team worked closely with municipal governments and tech companies to pilot the smart grid in several major cities. The initial results were remarkable. Energy consumption dropped as lighting and heating adjusted automatically to occupancy and weather conditions, water usage optimized through leak detection and irrigation controls, waste systems became predictive, minimizing overflow and improving recycling rates. Public engagement was crucial to the smart grid's success. BioStruck launched interactive platforms where residents could monitor their environmental impact, participate in decision-making, and suggest improvements. This transparency fostered a sense of ownership and responsibility, transforming users from passive consumers to active stewards of their environments. However, integrating such a complex system revealed unforeseen challenges. Data privacy and cybersecurity became major concerns as the smart grid expanded, requiring robust safeguards and ethical frameworks. Elena spearheaded efforts to ensure transparency in data use and to build trust among stakeholders. The technological complexity also demanded ongoing maintenance and adaptation, prompting BioStruck to develop modular upgrade systems within Superwood structures to simplify updates. Meanwhile, the smart grid's potential to address climate resilience attracted attention amid escalating weather crises. Adaptive infrastructure could respond in real time to floods, heat waves, and storms, mitigating damage and protecting vulnerable populations. Elena advocated for prioritizing deployment in high-risk areas, emphasizing equity in climate adaptation. As the smart grid scaled, BioStruck's AI researchers advanced machine learning models that enabled predictive analytics and autonomous system management. The synergy of AI and bioresponsive materials was a leap toward truly intelligent cities that learned and evolved alongside their inhabitants. The vision captivated urban planners, environmentalists, and policymakers, sparking new collaborations and funding. Elena's leadership was recognized globally, and she participated in forums shaping the future of sustainable urban development. At the same time, the team explored expanding the smart grid to rural and underserved communities, customizing solutions to local needs and resources. This approach challenged assumptions that cutting-edge technology was exclusive to wealthy cities, reflecting BioStruck's mission to democratize innovation. Throughout, Elena remained grounded by the human dimension of technology. She visited neighborhoods where smart grid systems had improved living conditions, witnessing firsthand the impact on health, safety, and community cohesion. These stories fueled her resolve to navigate the complex intersection of technology, policy, and society with humility and vision. Yet, not all feedback was positive. Critics questioned the potential for surveillance and corporate control embedded in such pervasive systems. Activists demanded stronger community governance and accountability. Elena welcomed these dialogues, believing that transparency and inclusion were vital to building sustainable futures. Internally, BioStruck fostered a culture of ethical reflection and interdisciplinary collaboration, ensuring diverse perspectives shaped development. The story of the smart grid highlighted the evolving relationship between humans and their environments in the age of biotechnology and AI. It raised fundamental questions about autonomy, privacy, and the balance between innovation and rights. Elena saw these challenges as opportunities to pioneer new models of governance and engagement that could serve as global examples. As she reviewed the smart grid's progress, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. The integration of Superwood technology into the fabric of daily life was not just a technical achievement but a transformation of society's relationship with nature and technology. The chapter closed with Elena walking through a bustling city square, where Superwood structures glowed softly, sensors humming in harmony with the rhythms of urban life. In every pulse of data and beam of material, she sensed a future being woven, a future defined by connection, adaptability, and hope. Elena sat alone in her office late into the night, the glow from her computer screen reflecting the exhaustion etched into her face. The relentless pace of innovation, the mounting responsibilities, and the weight of public expectation pressed heavily upon her. While Superwood had become a global phenomenon, promising to reshape industries and ecosystems, the human cost behind such transformation was beginning to reveal itself. Elena had always believed that technology should serve humanity, yet she now grappled with a sobering question: was the pace of change outstripping the capacity of society to adapt? The tension between breakthrough and backlash had become increasingly palpable. Critics warned of job displacement as automation advanced with Superwood-enabled manufacturing. Social disparities risked deepening as access to new technologies remained uneven, and ethical concerns around bioengineering stirred public unease. Elena understood these fears, they echoed her own moments of doubt. That night, she revisited her earliest motivations, the childhood memories of the redwood forests, the wonder at nature's intricate balance, the promise she saw in marrying biology and engineering to heal the planet. Those memories renewed her resolve but also reminded her of the imperative to proceed with humility and care. In the days that followed, Elena initiated a series of listening tours across the country, meeting with workers facing automation, communities wary of change, activists demanding inclusion, and policymakers wrestling with regulation. These conversations deepened her understanding of the complex human dimensions entwined with technological progress. She realized that innovation without empathy risked alienation and division. BioStruct began integrating social impact assessments into every project phase, collaborating with sociologists, ethicists, and community leaders to design inclusive solutions. Workforce retraining programs were expanded, focusing on equipping displaced workers with skills for emerging green industries. Elena championed policies promoting equitable access to Superwood technologies, striving to ensure that benefits reached all strata of society. Meanwhile, the company invested heavily in transparency initiatives, publishing open reports on environmental footprints, supply chain ethics, and governance practices. Elena believed that accountability was key to building public trust. The internal culture of BioStruct evolved, embracing not only scientific excellence but also social responsibility and cultural sensitivity. These shifts were not without friction. Some investors prioritized short-term profits over long-term sustainability, and debates over intellectual property and open innovation intensified. Elena navigated these tensions with determination, advocating for a vision that balanced innovation with justice. Her leadership style matured, less about commanding breakthroughs and more about fostering dialogue, listening, and shared purpose. The media coverage reflected this evolution, portraying Elena not just as a visionary scientist but as a thoughtful leader grappling with the profound challenges of her time. This new narrative resonated with a public craving authenticity and accountability. At the same time, BioStruct's scientific teams continued pushing the boundaries of Superwood, exploring integration with living organisms to create biohybrid materials capable of sensing, repairing, and adapting autonomously. These developments promised new horizons but also heightened ethical complexity. Elena convened global forums to deliberate the implications, inviting diverse voices to shape guidelines that respected both innovation and moral responsibility. Through these efforts, she helped forge emerging standards for responsible bioengineering, setting precedents for future technologies. On a personal level, Elena found solace in the unwavering support of Devon and a close circle of friends who reminded her of life beyond work. These relationships grounded her amid the storm, sustaining resilience and perspective. She also returned regularly to nature, drawing inspiration and peace from the forests and coastlines that had nurtured her spirit. As the year progressed, Elena's reflections coalesced into a powerful message she shared widely, that humanity's greatest challenge was not merely technological but moral and social, how to harness innovation to uplift all people and preserve the planet's delicate balance. The story of Superwood was no longer just about material science, it was about weaving technology into the fabric of society with care, respect, and foresight. The chapter closed with Elena addressing a global summit, her voice steady and impassioned as she called for a new era of inclusive, responsible innovation. In every breakthrough, she declared, must lie a commitment to humanity's shared future, one where progress honored people, planet, and purpose. Elena's phone buzzed with a message that would mark a turning point for BioStruct and the future of Superwood technology. Elon Musk himself had requested a private meeting to discuss a secret new project at SpaceX. One that could redefine humanity's reach beyond Earth. The invitation was thrilling yet daunting. SpaceX had been a key partner from the start, integrating Superwood Aero into their Starship designs, but this collaboration promised to delve even deeper. When Elena arrived at the sprawling SpaceX campus in Hawthorne, California, she was ushered into a sleek conference room where Elon awaited, his characteristic intensity softened by genuine curiosity. He outlined a vision, a lunar habitat built almost entirely from superwood composites, designed to be lightweight, self-repairing, and capable of withstanding the harsh lunar environment. The project, dubbed Lunar Wood, aimed to establish the first sustainable outpost on the Moon, supporting scientific research and serving as a stepping stone for Mars missions. Elena was captivated. The technical challenges were immense: radiation shielding, thermal regulation, airtight sealing, but Superwood's versatility offered unique solutions. The material's bioadaptive properties could allow the habitat to respond dynamically to external conditions, repairing microfractures from meteorite impacts and insulating against temperature extremes. BioStruct's teams immediately began collaborating with SpaceX engineers, merging expertise in material science, aerospace engineering, and astrobiology. Prototypes of structural panels and habitat modules underwent rigorous testing in simulated lunar conditions, revealing promising performance. The partnership also attracted international interest, with space agencies and research institutions eager to contribute to and learn from the endeavor. Meanwhile, the symbolic significance of Lunar Wood resonated globally. It represented a fusion of sustainable technology and human exploration, a step toward expanding humanity's footprint while honoring environmental responsibility. Media coverage was intense, painting the project as a beacon of hope amid earthly challenges. Yet, the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Funding pressures, geopolitical tensions, and technical hurdles loomed large. Elena found herself navigating not only scientific complexities but also diplomatic and strategic considerations. She advocated for openness and cooperation, believing that lunar exploration should unite rather than divide. On the personal front, the intensity of the project tested Elena's stamina and relationships. Long hours and high stakes strained her connection with Devon, but their bond endured through honest communication and shared commitment. Elena's leadership style evolved to balance visionary ambition with empathetic management, fostering collaboration and resilience across multidisciplinary teams. As Lunarwood's first modules neared completion, public engagement initiatives brought the excitement of lunar settlement into classrooms and communities worldwide. Educational programs inspired a new generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers eager to push boundaries. Elena often spoke to students, emphasizing that the challenges of space were deeply connected to challenges on Earth: innovation, sustainability, and cooperation. The culmination of years of research, risk-taking, and perseverance was near. Elena stood beside Elon at the inaugural unveiling of Lunarwood's core habitat structure, a gleaming testament to human ingenuity and nature-inspired engineering. The moment was charged with emotion, hope, pride, and anticipation. In her speech, Elena reflected on the journey from humble biofibers to lunar habitats, underscoring the intertwined destinies of Earth and space. She called on humanity to embrace exploration not just as conquest but as stewardship, ensuring that the technologies born from this journey would serve all life. The chapter closed with Lunawood's modules being loaded onto the starship, ready to embark on their historic voyage. Elena watched the launch from a control center, heart racing as the rocket soared toward the stars. In every fiber of Superwood, in every spark of human curiosity, she saw the limitless possibilities of a future where science, sustainability, and spirit converged beyond the confines of Earth. Elena felt a wave of emotion as she stood in the packed auditorium. The global community gathered virtually and in person for BioStruck's annual Innovation Summit. This year's theme was Superwood and the Future of Humanity, a celebration of milestones and a call to action for the challenges ahead. The room buzzed with anticipation, leaders from government, industry, academia, and grassroots movements ready to share ideas, debate ethics, and envision futures shaped by sustainable technology. Elena took the stage, her heart steady despite the enormity of the moment. She opened with a question that had fueled her journey: what if the materials we build with could heal the world, not harm it? The audience was silent, hanging on every word. She recounted the evolution of Superwood, from a lab experiment inspired by nature's wisdom to a global catalyst for change spanning oceans, cities, homes, and even space. The stories of communities transformed by affordable Superwood housing, ecosystems revived by oceanic reefs, and the groundbreaking smart grid technology illustrated the material's extraordinary potential. Yet, Elena did not shy away from the complexities. She addressed head-on the social, ethical, and environmental challenges that accompanied rapid innovation. She spoke of the importance of inclusion, equity, transparency, and humility in shaping technology's role in society. Her message was clear: progress was not linear or inevitable, it required vigilance, dialogue, and shared values. The summit featured panels exploring interdisciplinary approaches, biologists collaborating with urban planners, ethicists engaging with engineers, activists partnering with policymakers. These dialogues sparked new initiatives aimed at strengthening governance frameworks, promoting open science, and expanding educational outreach. One highlight was the announcement of the Global Superwood Alliance, a coalition dedicated to coordinating research, standardizing ethical guidelines, and supporting communities worldwide in adopting Superwood innovations responsibly. Elena emphasized that this alliance embodied the spirit of collective stewardship essential to addressing global crises. The event also showcased emerging projects: biodegradable Superwood packaging poised to disrupt plastic waste, biohybrid wearables enhancing human health, and cross-sector partnerships deploying Superwood infrastructure in disaster zones to speed recovery and resilience. Media coverage portrayed the summit as a pivotal moment, a testament to the transformative power of marrying science and conscience. Throughout the summit, Elena engaged with diverse voices, drawing inspiration and insight. She met young innovators eager to push boundaries, activists demanding justice, skeptics raising critical questions. These encounters deepened her resolve to pursue inclusive innovation grounded in empathy. Behind the scenes, BioStruck announced renewed commitments to social responsibility, increasing investments in underserved regions, and expanding educational programs to nurture the next generation of scientists and leaders. Elena also unveiled a new initiative, the Superwood Fellowship, supporting research at the intersection of technology, ethics, and society. As the summit concluded, Elena reflected on the extraordinary journey, from the spark of curiosity in a childhood forest to this moment of global collaboration and hope. She recognized that the path forward was both inspiring and daunting. The challenges of climate change, inequality, and technological disruption demanded sustained effort and collective wisdom. The chapter closed with Elena walking through the bustling summit hall, surrounded by passionate minds united by a shared vision. In every handshake, every conversation, every spark of innovation, she saw the living promise of a future where humanity and nature flourish together. Superwood was more than a material, it was a movement toward a better world. Elena sat quietly in her office, the soft hum of the city outside a steady reminder of the world that had transformed so dramatically since Superwood's inception. The journey had been arduous, filled with triumphs, setbacks, and moments of profound learning. As she prepared to step back from her role as BioStruck's CEO, she reflected deeply on what had been accomplished and what still lay ahead. Superwood was no longer just a revolutionary material, it had become a symbol of humanity's potential to harmonize innovation with nature's wisdom. From affordable housing that provided safety and dignity, to smart infrastructures that reduced environmental impact, to lunar habitats embodying humanity's cosmic aspirations, Superwood's legacy was woven into the fabric of a changing planet and an expanding frontier. Elena's mind wandered to the countless individuals whose lives had intersected with this journey, the scientists who dreamed beyond the possible, the communities who embraced new ways of living, the activists who challenged and refined the vision, and the partners who collaborated across disciplines and borders. Each story was a thread in a rich tapestry of resilience, creativity, and hope. She recalled the moments of doubt and tension when rapid progress collided with ethical concerns, when technological excitement had to be balanced with humility and responsibility. These challenges had been integral to growth, reminding her that true innovation was as much about values as it was about breakthroughs. Elena's personal evolution mirrored this arc, from a driven scientist eager to prove a concept, to a thoughtful leader fostering collaboration and reflection, to a mentor encouraging the next generation to carry the torch forward. She felt a profound gratitude for the support of loved ones, especially Devon, whose unwavering presence had been a source of strength through long nights and hard choices. The world outside was changing rapidly, facing new environmental and social challenges that demanded ongoing attention. Elena knew that Superwood was a powerful tool but not a panacea. The real work of building sustainable, equitable societies required collective effort, continual learning, and courage to confront complexity. Before leaving her office, Elena penned a letter to BioStruck's future leaders. In it, she emphasized the enduring importance of integrity, empathy, and curiosity. She urged them to remember that technology served humanity best when it was inclusive, transparent, and aligned with the stewardship of the planet. The letter closed with a hopeful challenge, to dream boldly, act responsibly, and always listen deeply to the world around them. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm light on the city where Superwood structures gleamed softly in the twilight. Children played in parks built from the very material that had begun as a scientific curiosity. Communities thrived in homes that were affordable, safe, and sustainable. Across oceans and deserts, forests and mountains, the promise of a better future was unfolding. As Elena walked out of the building for the last time as CEO, she felt a quiet peace. The story of Superwood was far from over. It was just beginning a new chapter, one written by countless hands united by a shared vision of a world where innovation and compassion coexisted. Life, she knew, was full of surprises, but love for people, planet, and progress, would always lead the way. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?